Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty, and together we speak about what's trending in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that lefties and righties can get along. And if we don't, we're able to have a regular conversation like human beings, because remember, common sense has no political affiliations. As every Wednesday, we have our friend of the show. I'm going to start calling you our Wednesday contributor. Jason, what's going on, brother?
You know, same thing as last week, just surviving the mean streets of Hermosa Beach, California. Life as a shorty shouldn't be so rough.
Okay, yeah, it's true. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you guys doing today?
Good, brother. Good. The news is a gift that keeps on giving, however people want to take that.
Absolutely. Hey, look, before we get started, guys, I wanted to ask you two, and also the reason I brought it up live is because I wanted the audience to sort of be engaged and have a say in this. But so interesting thing happened to me last night. So I'm down in the gym of my building, running into this guy that I see all the time. You know, I say hello to him in the elevator, never talk to him. I knew he was like Ukrainian or Russian or something. Anyway, super friendly, like over the top friendly, super friendly guy. Comes up, shakes my hand. Great to see you here. I was hoping we get to talk and blah, blah, blah. Start to talk. And so
that's how it starts. That's how it starts. Next thing you know,
but we didn't make eye contact, so it's all right.
Happens in the elevator all the time.
Yeah, yeah. What happens in the elevator stays in the elevator. Anyway,
what's going on, Prairie? By the way, what's going on?
Yes, Prairie. How's it going, guys? How you guys doing today? And I'll just keep this super brief, but we ended up having a super fascinating conversation. So he's from the Donetsk region. He only moved here about 2 years ago, and he has such fascinating stories, such interesting stories. Like he ran a gym over there. He's showing pictures of his bombed out gym. And so I'm asking himself, I'm like, so man, I see these videos of guys going around grabbing men on the streets and throwing them into cars to join the army. He's like, I'm like, is that going on? He's like, brother, I got so many stories to tell you. So because he worked with the gym or the boxing gym, a lot of his buddies are being hired to do that. He goes, I know two guys, their job is to go out with the military units on patrol. And if the men run away, their job is to stop them, because a lot of these guys don't want to be in there. So I just wanted to, I don't even know if he's willing. I haven't talked to him, but you know, for the audience and also you guys, if I thought it'd be fascinating to have sort of an AMA or maybe bring him on and see, just have the audience ask any questions, because he's super open. It's funny how, you know, these Ukrainian Russian types, they have those two archetypes, right? There's the very stern sort of Vladimir Putin, Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies.
I must break you. Yeah.
Yeah, I will break you. That. And then there's the over-the-top, friendly, jovial, Slavic guy. They're both hard men, right? You get the vibe. They're both men you don't want to fuck with, but it's funny how it's one or the other. He's the jovial type, but if guys, if that sounds interesting, I mean, I feel you could tell just talking to him, he loved to answer questions. He had a lot of interesting things to say about Putin, about what he thought Putin's motivations were. You know, he asked me, he said he got out as soon as the tanks were massing because he knew what was coming. Yeah. But one thing he said that was super interesting, he said most people they thought it was a joke. They never thought they would come. He said, imagine how you guys feel about Americans. That's how they felt, at least in that eastern region border, about the Russians. These were their friends. These were their brothers. And it really took a lot of people by surprise.
It's 80% ethnic Russian.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he is. He's ethnic
so
Russian.
When people say that there's a 20% Russian occupation in these cities, you got to listen to how they're saying it.
Yeah. If you're saying 20% Russian occupation in these 80% Russian cities.
To answer your question, I don't know that it's a good idea, because I can tell you from experience, it's not because they're great at giving you a story that they're good in front of a camera.
Right.
Because I've ran into that problem. I've met some really cool people, recorded, took me hours to do it. I edited the content. I'm like, yeah, this is shit. Oh, this is shit, because there's a reason why there's just a certain amount of people that are capable of doing this, because it's a skill.
Sure.
Now,
yeah, because sometimes it's up to us, right, to make that
100% to carry the conversation.
Why are we here, right? So
yeah. Fair.
But
fair,
why
fair.
do you carry a conversation? It's brutal on a podcast or in an episode or on a show to have to carry the conversation and extract information like it's pulling
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that's true.
So plus,
Maybe
where would
something to keep in
where
mind for the
would he do
future.
it? But where would he do it? He'd sit on your lap and you guys
No,
share
yeah.
microphones?
Well, we're already close, right? Because of the
That's exactly why.
yeah.
You're already close. Yeah, I know. I know.
No, I assume he'd
Is
be
that-
downstairs in his apartment on the.
Oh, he'd be
on
down,
the-
all right.
Oh yeah,
Is
he'd
that,
be
is
down,
that where you
all right.
put the emergency stop in that elevator?
he'd
Just
be in the
press that
bottom.
emergency
He'd be on the
stop
bottom
button.
floor.
Has you,
Shit happens.
you know, Rob, has he already become your emergency contact?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we did exchange numbers. Maybe am I being groomed? Is this the process? They lure
Well,
you
if
in with the stories of romantic.
You know, Rob, you don't look like the biggest guy, and Russian are normally pretty big. So
Oh,
I know
brother.
you'd probably be on the bottom. I'm just saying. I'm
Brother.
just putting it out there.
I mean, I'm 204 pounds. I'm 5'11". I'm not a small guy. Although this
Oh,
guy,
are
I
you?
don't know. Yeah.
Did you
Is
just
he a
say
big
you're
guy?
5'11"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I
It's
stand?
hard-
Should I
You
stand
should
up?
just
hard
say
to
6
believe.
feet, man.
No, it's not the same. You know how many times I've been told that an inch matter? I've been told
Well-
many times that 1 inch makes a difference.
I
so-
was on a dating profile called OkCupid, and the majority of the women said if a man says he's 5'11", it means he's 5'9", because if he was 5'11", he would
Yeah.
just say 6 feet.
Oh, actually, you know, and
And I said,
I,
I said, you know what you women do? You and your fucking MySpace angle, making yourself look skinnier than you are. Then when people meet you in person, you're fucking fat. You are a sick, secret internet fatty.
and full disclosure, that 5'11" is in like, fucking Timberlands or something like that.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Yeah.
But
That's what I thought.
Legitimate 5'10" for sure, like barefoot.
You can always tell.
It's starting,
I fucking
yeah,
love-
it's
I
starting to
fucking love
unravel.
Brett.
It's unraveling
No,
as
no,
we
so-
speak. Boys, I'm
Bro,
5'3".
as I'm calling bullshit on this. Oh, Prairie saying you're 5'8". Yep.
Okay, all right. I'm
just saying.
I'm gonna stand up next to a tape measure tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got this.
You know, there's a guy. I don't know if you ever seen that guy, but there's a guy on. He goes virals on every single platform. But a little Asian guy, and he calculates the heights of people. That's all he does. People like I don't know how he started, but he's very mathematical. Like he puts it into a software that aligns all the angles. Then he looks at what can I recognize? Okay, that type of shoe. I know what that type of shoe is. So he goes, he finds the shoe, he calculates the height, and then the dude is a genius. But we should send it. We should send him.
Send
a
me,
picture
yeah.
of you
It comes back like
standing.
5'3". Oh no,
It's gonna come back like Prairie, like 5'8". He's 5'11" in Timberlands.
Yeah, platform boots. 5'11" when I'm lead singing my Kiss cover band.
And you just woke up in the morning, your back's all straight. You're not.
Oh fuck no, I get it. Yeah, I've got scoliosis.
You know who we need to ask? We need to ask your girlfriend. She'll be. Normally, women are brutally honest. With
Oh,
this.
brutally. Oh, she'd be the worst. No, she would. she loves to cut me down to size. It's her favorite thing.
So before we continue, we got the question of the day that is a two-parter, depending where you're from. So the question for all of you out there is Trump trying to get Canada to join the US as the 51st state, or is it just again one of his negotiation tactics? Now, if you're Canadian, I have an extra question for you. Do you want to join the US? If that was really an option, would you join the US? I will start that question by you, Rob, because you fit both category. You're short, you're Canadian, and so do you think it's a negotiation tactic?
Yeah. Yeah, you're short. You often need someone stronger to protect you.
I didn't think about that, but zazzing. Yep.
No, so I mean, I don't. I'm pretty proud Canadian. I think I like us to stay that way. I think there are things that it's good for us to be separate and not have. We do have a Canadian identity buried under there somewhere that has been Trudeau has definitely tried his best to get rid of it, but it does still exist. I think that said, though, I would really like to see closer ties to the U.S. I think, there's talk of maybe we should get closer to Europe or even like China, and like that would be a fucking disaster. No, they you want to see American sympathy for
invade Canada,
burn on a dime. That's what you do. But we're never going to have as much nearly in common with Europe as America. I mean, we've got a shared identity. We've fought in battle together many times. We've fallen in battle together many times. And I really think that we should, as Canadians, get away from this sort of America hating that has been trendy. It's very trendy, and this isn't new. It's popular to be like, oh yeah, we're not like Americans, we're Canadians, we're the good guys, and that I think we should get away from. I think there's a lot of, obviously Trump's a bloviating sort of blowhard type, but I think there is a lot of truth into some of his complaints, and I think Canadians would do well to take that seriously.
What do you think, Jason?
I think there's a song in the 80s called "I'm a Soul Man." With Trump, I'm going to call it "I'm a Troll Man." All right, so I want people to think in their heads the song "I'm a Soul Man." He's a troll man, right? And you usually don't see these trolls unless he's responding to what someone says to him first, right? Like most of Trump's controversial statements are usually reacting to someone, and they think his reaction is disproportionate. But in this case, when he initiates stuff like that, you have to ask yourselves, for the people watching and thinking about this, let your wheels turn and ask yourself this: what's really going on? That this is the story. What's going on behind the scenes that they don't want to be the top story? That merging with Canada is the story, right? Because 2 weeks ago we were talking about him tap dancing like the late great Gregory Hines on beachfront property in Gaza, right? And what's going on there? And what's going on with you guys were talking about with this guy being arrested and this is definitely going to make it to the Supreme Court in regards to free speech and this and that,
as it should.
What's really going on? Because usually when you see Trump make the headlines, it's usually in response to something someone said to him that he doesn't like, and people think he's gone too far, right? That's been his political career. Like Rosie O'Donnell, like everyone he's ever like Hayes was always a response, but he also has a pattern when he initiates stuff like that. He or his people or whatever you want to call them are trying to hide what the real story of the day or the story of that week is. So before we get into this whole thing that's never going to happen, right? I mean, when you talked about China like merging with Canada, right? You know what happened? USA would go straight Russia and become everything that they claim to despise. Russia.
For sure.
Man, we would be Russia in a heartbeat if that happened, right? I mean, which is crazy. Why do you hate Russia so much when we would react the exact same way?
All of a sudden they would recognize the danger of encroaching foreign powers on your doorstep.
If you want to talk to benefits versus whatever, I don't think that the U.S. offers Canada that much. Where if Canada's asking what's in it for them, there's not a whole lot in it for them. You got better medical care, you got colder weather, but so
false,
what?
False,
better than the United States.
I take the
United States. Dying in America is the most expensive thing. I challenge anyone to make something more expensive than dying in America. I challenge anyone in the comment section. What is more expensive than dying in America? And I'll wait.
I can tell you from somebody that spends half my time in both places, Canada is broken. I would much rather. So before I answer the question of the day, I'll answer this. Right now, between 30 to 40% of income taxes is put towards our healthcare system. 30 to 40% of our income tax. That is a massive amount of money. Mm-hmm. And right now, I am not capable of getting a doctor. Personally, I'm not able to have a family doctor. It's something along the lines 1 to 5 or 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 4 Canadians, depending on the study you look at, cannot get a family doctor, meaning that if there's an emergency, they have to log in an app and hope for the best, or show up to the hospital where the emergency lineups are 10, 20 hours long. So, and this has been going on for years. Our system is broken, completely broken. And the reason I'm saying, no, hold on. But the reason I'm saying that I would rather have a privatized, I'm not saying that it should be ran like the US. That's not what I'm saying. But I should have the opportunity to opt out, to say, you know what? I'm paying, because at the end of the day, if you look at the Canadian system, it's a bunch of people that are not accountable for their actions. You gotta, we're very close when it comes to your statistics of obesity and of people being overweight. So people don't take care of their health. Personally, don't take care of their health. It's not a priority to them. So why the fuck would I pay for them? This is where I come from. I come from, because in my career as an engineer, bro, I was taxed 50 to 55% of my salary to pay for social services that I never take advantage of. I pay for people that don't take care of themselves, or that have too many kids that they can't afford to have, which to me is bullshit. I'm tired of being taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed, because Canada is one of the most fucking taxed places that you'll find. It's insane how taxed we are. We have tax over tax over tax. Like the gas, we have 2 or 3 different taxes on top of each other.
It's crazy.
So the point I'm trying to make is that we should have an opportunity to opt out. Now, is the way the US is run the best way to do it? No, but there has to be a way where it's more somewhere in the middle, where you have an opportunity to take advantage of a public system if you want. But at the same time, there needs to be consequences. There needs to be a way where doctors, let's say I'm a cigar smoker. I'll say this. This is my biggest vice. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. Like, I rarely drink. I fast all the time. I'm very careful about what I eat. I'm always at the gym. So this is something I take very seriously. Let's say that I show up to the hospital in 10 years and the doctor looks at me, he's like, you know, sir, you're starting to develop a cancer, like throat cancer, or you're on the way. If you continue smoking cigars the way that you smoke, you might face consequences for that. You know what? Okay, sir, I would stop on a dime. If you told me that this is literally killing me, which I know cigars is not the same thing because I don't inhale, right? But the point is, let's say that it would happen. I want a doctor to tell me you have 1 year to change the way you are. Here are some people that we can recommend that you can go see if you're not able to do it alone, if you need a group, whatever the need that you have, that you need could be available to you. But in a year from now, if I show up and I'm still smoking, you're cut off. You don't want to take care of yourself. It's not our responsibility. It's not my responsibility as a taxpayer to take care of people that don't want to take care of themselves. There's a difference between not taking care of them at all, but to say, listen, if you don't want to take your health seriously after we told you, we gave you the help that you need in order to get there, then you're on yourself. Like, we need to stop trying to save people that don't want to save themselves. This is what I'm thinking, like, to have something in the middle. But when you consider that 30 to 40% of our taxes go to a system that's broken, where I can't get a family doctor, my wife can't get a family doctor because there's just not enough. So this is the point, right? So Canada, when I hear people say that Canada has a great system, we don't.
I didn't say that.
So yeah, just
I didn't
to
say that. I said I had a better system in the
that.
United States. I didn't say they had a great system.
No, but you're making it sound like it's better than the US. And
Well,
I would
I
argue,
think it is.
no, but
I mean,
I'll
I
know
agree
what
with
it
you.
here
I
will get
agree
you-
with
no,
you for
but-
sure.
but hold on,
out here gets you killed.
hold on. Yeah, but do you have you ever looked at MAID, what the assistance services that Canada offers is people now? People are being offered a way to die instead of being treated. The media don't talk about this, but if you look at the statistics, we literally have a service called MAID that is assisted killing. Our government is literally offering people to die instead of treating them. This is where we're at right now. This is fucked.
So yeah,
that's my point, right? I don't want to turn this into, we should have an expert on this to talk about this, because this is a massive rabbit hole and it has
sure,
nothing
but
to do
you got
with
your piece, and now I'm going to say mine. I agree with
but I
you.
haven't answered the question yet. You answered
just
the
talked
question
for like
bro.
10 minutes.
No, Nico's third on
Go
answering
ahead.
the Trump
Answer
question.
the question.
Sorry. Yeah.
But again, I'm just correcting Jason, because this is not
You're incorrect.
where I wanted to.
You're incorrect in shit, because we'll table this discussion and maybe do it on another episode. But I didn't have a chance to rebut that, and Rob was trying to say something. But
No,
Nico,
it's fine.
you're right.
You know what? Go. You want
You
to
have to answer the question.
No, go for it.
Go
If
ahead,
that's
Jason.
what you want to make the show about, go.
No, I don't.
Well, no,
I
but you
want-
don't get
I
to talk
want-
for
I
5
wanted
minutes
Nico
and
to
then
answer
deny us
the
the chance to
original
talk
question
about
about Trump
Well,
and
you
Canada.
guys are talking over each other. I couldn't hear anything you said. Go
No,
ahead.
I said you haven't had a chance to answer about Trump and Canada, and that's where I wanted to just table
it. Yeah,
this.
let's stick with that.
I mean, we at the end of the day can call it a wash with U.S. and then Canadian healthcare.
It's no, but it's okay because it's a misconception. Like a lot of Americans throw that back at me, and I'm like, bro, I can't get help even if I wanted to. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm healthy, you know,
Right.
the only time I've been to the hospital in my whole life is because of what I do, like fighting. I broke stuff, or because I'm athletic, right? I'm always been competing in sports, so guess what? I get injured. But if it wasn't for that, I would have never gone to the hospital at all. And I've had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Yet, a couple of years ago, I was in Virginia with my buddy and his wife. We went to a concert. There was a bit of drinking involved. I'm pretty sure she drank a bit too much. She slipped, she snapped her arm. She got it fixed with, they have insurance. They showed up to a clinic that they go to on the way back, pop, within an hour, not even, it was done. You know how many times I had to sit at the hospital for 10, 20 hours trying to get an x-ray done? Oh, shit, we might need an MRI. Oh, shit, you need to wait for this doctor and this doctor and this doctor. Yet, 30 to 40% of my income tax, that is 50% at least, let's call it 50% of my income tax. So 30 to 40% of that 50% I'm paying. So about 20%, 25% of what I pay every year goes to that. And I can't even get help if I need it. So this is the thing, right? Would I rather take a portion? Let's say I take the same salary, the same portion, and I dump it through a insurance that I pay for myself. I would get, it would not cost me less, but it would give me the opportunity to be treated when I need it and not wait 10, 20 hours sitting there with something broken or an emergency, right?
Fair.
That's all I'm saying.
Nothing you're saying is wrong. I don't disagree with anything.
There has to be a middle. All I'm saying is that the US doesn't have it figured out. Neither does Canada. That's the point I'm trying to make. It should be. I agree. There has to be a way in the middle. I
agree with you. My only take would be I would just use the things you're saying as problems as a reason to fix the system and not necessarily bin it. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But again, you know, we have common ground. We have common ground on.
Agree with you.
We agree with the problems for sure.
And it's a great.
It's not even a conversation.
No, but the reason why
it's not even a conversation in Canada, right? Like,
no,
you haven't heard as much as it's been broken. Because agree, Rob, how long has this been broken? At least 10, 20 years. This is nothing new. We've been talking about this for decades, and we've had a conservative.
Do you guys know what I meant about dying in America?
Yeah.
You guys have any understanding what I was talking about?
I actually don't.
Yes.
And I was actually. What do you mean? Like just the cost of.
You can go to a hospital
briefly explain
with insurance, right? And now that with deductibles and insurance deciding what they want to cover and this and that, and we're not even talking about cancer where your insurance won't even cover half of that. Half of America is one accident away from being in medical debt with insurance, with a 35% tax rate that they pay similar, not a 40%, that's similar that they pay to social services and this and that. And now when you can't pay the bill, your credit score is fucked. And now you can't buy a house. Now you can't get credit cards. Now you can't go to school. Now you can't get in the you understand what I'm saying? And there are even some jobs. And you know, it's weird in America. There are even some jobs where they look at your credit score, and I'm like, dude, the reason why I need this job is because my credit score sucks.
That's weird.
It's like
real weird.
You know, so yeah, and
I'm not disagreeing with you.
People's children trying to take care of their parents, their grandchildren, all of them broke as fuck, bro. Paying this almost 5% less than what Canada is paying. Okay, good for us. Whoop-de-doo, that's a fucking win. But at the same time, dying in America for a cost, right? And I agree with Nico. You as a healthy man, and this is why this is personal to you. You as a healthy man should have the option to opt out, right?
You get taxed less.
You are
get taxed less.
Yes, or at least tax less. I like that, splitting the difference.
Yeah, I like that.
Like Nico, you are the master of modern prevention. You are the first word I got. I wanted to. I had it poetically in my head, and then I lost it. You are the master of modern prevention. Nico will be the first one to say, if you're hammering your thumb, don't take painkillers because your thumb hurts. Stop fucking hammering your thumb, idiot.
So all I'm saying, Jason,
man
is
looks like he's a fucking 30-year-old. You know,
but there has to be an in between, right? That's all I'm saying. There has to be an in between because yes, in the US, it's gonna it could bankrupt you. But do you know that somebody that was not vaccinated? No, but hold on. Do you know that as somebody that wasn't vaccinated, I couldn't get treatment during COVID? Do you know that people in Canada got refused? No, we got refused surgery for not being vaccinated because the government decides what they believe is okay. That's the problem. So there has to be an in between where insurance companies are not fucking killing you, which is why government needs, I believe in minimal governments, but this is one of those things that there has to be a way to have a system where the government helps the people that really need it, but prevents insurance company from fucking murdering people just because they can.
And Rob,
so there has to be a way.
Thank you. By the way, thank you guys, because that wasn't our original subject matter. So I appreciate the audience and everybody giving me and Nico permission to sift through it, because someone out there listening to this shares Nico's sentiment or disagrees with it. So
there's actually a lot of comments coming in.
That's important.
We'll
this is a real fucking conversation, guys.
Yeah, Melissa.
But that's what I was saying. If we make it about this, I wasn't saying that out of frustration. I'm just saying if we want to explore that subject, let's do it. I think
we're good with that. But we'll just briefly go on there. Melissa agrees with you, Nico. Living in Canada with its healthcare is way worse than the United States. Being from a Canadian/American living in the US now, but she grew up in Canada. Her family in Canada has long wait times. Definitely. I mean, you hear that story a lot. I'm kind of this Nico's boat. I haven't really needed to use a healthcare system in a long time. Last time was when I was in the Army, and that was, I used the Army healthcare system. That was different. But and I know you hear it. What's that?
Melissa Lim. She's a killer volleyball player. She's Canadian. She lives in Texas.
Oh no shit! You actually know her.
Yeah, she went on a carnivore diet, and the carnivore diet saved her life. So, but I don't.
Good for
and
you.
You want to talk about spearing us off the cliff? I know you guys have a subject matter, but
the show just keeps on
Melissa,
surprising.
what's up?
Rob Rourke, and we're actually getting a lot of new comments too, guys. Keep it coming. We love the engagement. And just on as a quick aside, if you guys are watching this tonight as a rerun at 7 p.m., you won't be able to necessarily engage live the way that these people are now. But me and Nico are checking we're checking those feeds. So if you comment there, we'll respond as well. So there will be some form of live engagement. Rob Rourke,
but that's an invitation for you guys that are watching it at 7 to join us at 12. Because
absolutely.
Don't give me this shit. If you work in an office, you can literally put headphones on, stream that in the corner. You don't even have to look at us. You should.
Don't let
should look. No. Oh, if you're a government worker, you're used not to working. So just don't work to our videos. That's
if your boss has an issue, just tell him Nico says all right.
What's Rob saying?
Yeah, exactly. Just tell your boss that Nico said it was okay.
Personally, bro, Rob Rourke says, I think Trump is doing what he's doing against the Canadian deep state and not the people. The reaction of our politicians is what hurts the people. This is why IMO, we need the PPC. That is the People's Party of Canada, sooner rather than later. I agree. I don't think Trump hates Canadians. Still a bit scary being on the other end of the world's most powerful nation that's ever existed. But I agree. I don't think it's personal for him, for sure.
Go back to the top. Go back to Stevens, because Steven has talked about this. Hold on, I'll put it.
You got it.
So Steven is saying, I think he wants us to get our shit together, and if we don't, go bankrupt, and he can buy us. It's a win-win for Trump, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, it's something like that.
I'm at a point where I would love to see, because I've been dealing with a lot of people out of Alberta. I've been talking to a lot of journalists and content creators out of the West, like BC and especially Alberta, and their way of seeing it is completely different. Like there's a massive movement in Alberta right now where people want to separate from Canada, because Canada have been ruining Alberta's primary job source, which was oil and gas. So under the Liberal government over the past 9 years, they literally destroyed their province, and they just want to make money. They just want to have workers, good jobs for the workers, and export and sell their oil throughout Canada and export it to other countries. So there's a big movement coming out of Alberta that seems to want to separate, which, to answer the question, at the beginning, I thought it was a joke. I really thought, and I have a video for you guys from yesterday. I thought it was a joke. I thought that this whole thing was a negotiation tactic by Trump, and I'm not sure anymore. I'm not saying that it's not. But I still think it might be. I'm just not sure anymore, just because there's a growing movement happening in Canada. And, for all the Canadians, I got a message for all the Canadians out there. You don't get to be prideful about Canada now when Canada took my rights away because I didn't want to get an experimental vaccine in my body. You don't get to now say, oh, I'm a proud Canadian. No, fuck you. You let our government become tyrannical during those fucking years. You don't get to tell me what a patriot Canadian is. I lost my fucking career over this. I lost fucking everything over me saying no and standing up for what I believe. You didn't stand up with me. You guys forced me in a position that I did not want to be in. But you know what? I'll still thank you for it, because that's the best decision I've ever taken in my life. So
and
at the same time,
you know who disagrees with you? You
what?
too, because vaccines are safe and effective.
Yes. YouTube. Yeah. This is for entertainment purposes
and
only.
If you haven't had your ACE booster, screw you.
Thank
you, Jason.
And I agree with what you just said, Nico, and I'll add on to that, especially if.
But hold on. Thank you, Jason. I gotta say thank you, because I was going on a fucking rant there, and it's like.
Yeah.
Safe and effective.
But also, if you were also a couple years ago, out in the streets protesting about how Canada is a genocidal colonizer state, and there's not, we have nothing to be proud of here. I don't want to hear it today. If you're waving your flag just because
Free Palestine.
Yeah. I mean, be consistent. That's one thing on this show we're big on. Be consistent. If you hated Canada 4 years ago, you don't get to be patriotic today. And so I will just add on, because I agree with everything Nico you just said.
Doesn't that make Nico a real Canadian then? Doesn't that make him even more? Listen, guys, dissension is the greatest form of patriotism, not nationalism.
I agree.
Not supporting your country unconditional, regardless of what they do, right? I didn't support the Iraq War. I didn't like George Bush, fucking C student that went to Yale that became president of the United States because his daddy was, right? And at that time period, if you didn't support the Iraq War, they called you un-American. They called me a veteran, a Gulf War vet who was there for the first time around. So
you got Dixie checked?
I think people need to understand where Nico's coming from. It comes from a place. His Canadian resentment comes from a place of Canadian pride. The man is a patriot. And again, I remind everybody, and I'll land on this because I've been talking a lot. Dissension is the greatest form of patriotism.
Yep, agreed. 100%.
It's just that it seems that Canada needs an evil person to point their fingers at in order to be a boogeyman, but they won't point that same figure at themselves. Because right now, just like Stephen is saying right here, maybe that's what Trump wants. He wants us to get our shit together. But the worst thing that we have in Canada is not Trump; it's our own politicians.
Agreed.
You look at the Liberals and the Conservative; they're saying the same thing. Pierre Poilievre is literally using the same sentences and the same words as the Liberal Party. They both want a dollar for dollar tariff war with the US. That is the Liberal and the Conservative. Can you imagine in the US if the Democrats and Republicans actually agreed? That's fucked up. That you're not supposed to. Like, the difference between America and Canada is it could be a possibility that at one point the Democrats become a bit more common sense again, and they have a lot in common with the Republican. That is hopefully where we're going. But in Canada, the party that is the second party in power. So in this case, the Liberal are the one in power, and the second party is the Conservative. they're not just the conservative. They're called the party of opposition. So your job is to always play devil's advocate, to always be calling out what the party in power is doing, to say what you're doing is wrong, not to agree with them. You're supposed to question everything that they're doing. That's why they called it the party of opposition. Yet the conservative right now, if you remove Pierre Poilievre and you replace him by Mark Carney, they sound the fucking same. There's no difference between their wording right now. They're literally using the same words. And I showed that on a podcast last week with Rob. I showed one of his last posts and he's using the same words. I showed a bunch of videos. They're all saying the same fucking thing. So the three biggest party in Canada, the NDP being the third, are forming a coalition where they're holding us Canadians hostage. We're the one that's getting fucked because nobody wants to get their fat asses to the US and go speak with Trump.
Yeah,
this is the problem. We're being fucked by our own politicians in a hope that they can they can push us down one step further closer to fucking communism by installing a universal basic income. That's their goal. They're all saying that they want to use the proceeds of the tariffs that they're going to impose on us to give it back to the workers. How is that not
wild
communism? How is that not communism? And yet you go see
totalitarian.
I'm the one that's being called out by the conservatives right now, saying, "Oh, I was called a traitor yesterday multiple times by conservatives because I go on Pierre Poilievre's platform and I'm like, nope, this is what you're doing, and here is why I'm saying this." And people are agreeing with me, but people are calling me all the names possible, traitors, and then they block me. Fucking bunch of bitches won't even let me respond.
Rob, do I
yes, Rob,
permission to respond as if I'm a DNC Californian?
Yes, absolutely, of course.
It's a shame what's happening in Canada, okay? Because if there's something we won't tolerate in the United States, is making people not be able to fly because they don't have the jab. If there's anything we won't tolerate in the United States, you can't eat in a restaurant unless you have the jab. Hell, we might not even let you in jail. We'll let you identify as a woman and rape as many women as you can. But if there's anything, Canada should
you're running for office in California, aren't you?
We won't tolerate not letting people fly, eat in restaurants, go to doctors' offices, keep their job, not lose their career because they're not getting something that's safe and effective. And screw this guy because he hasn't had his 6th fucking booster.
Yeah. You're running for office in California. This is your
I can run as a Democrat. Guys, hello. I can run as a Democrat and win.
So to go back to the question, this is where my head's at now. No, but this is where my head's at now. If I was given a choice of living in the US, if Trump made it easy for me to move to the US, because now because under Biden, I could not move to the US if I wanted to because I'm unvaccinated. But Trump took care of that like 2 weeks after getting into office, or
that only got removed 2 weeks after Trump.
I think it's January 23rd, if I remember correctly, because that was still a requirement.
So about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly. So right after it got removed by Trump. So even if I wanted to, we couldn't. Of course, good. But if I look at the past 4 years, of the past 5 years, because it's been 5 years since the COVID, we first started treating COVID like a global pandemic. It was 5 years yesterday. It was on the 11th.
Yeah.
If I look at all of the things that my government has done to me as an unvaccinated individual, what they've done to other people, other Canadians, and what they're still doing, because I got a video earlier that I wanted to show today that is showing that they're not done. They're actually they're going again against the trucker convoy from fucking 2 years ago. The Ontario government is still going to try to sue them. So we're not done with this shit yet. So if you give me a choice right now to say, can you become American? I would say yes, 100%. No questions about it.
It's not a ridiculous proposition.
If I could stay in the US right now and just like move to Alabama, Tennessee, I really like Tennessee, but if I was able to move wherever I wanted and just stay here, we'd stay. My wife and I both agree with this. We don't want to go back to Canada. We have to in 2 weeks because our 6 months visas expired, so we have to go back. But if I had the choice, I would stay in the US, no questions about it, or we're going to end up in Italy if shit don't change over the next year. Now,
Yeah.
America
should
would
we become
America would love to have
American?
you. Listen,
That is what, hey, bro. That is
need
how
to
many
be
times have I
men again.
got that?
People that need to be men again need Nico Lagan. Okay,
Mhm.
people who are not raising their boys to be men need this gentleman on my left or right, wherever he is on your TV screen. We need this guy. In fact, he should be flown back in via private jet, and he should have a reception in fucking Bama. Okay, if Nico became an American citizen equipped with a green card with gold emblems on it, I would feel patriotic again. I would go to the Statue of Liberty, reach up that giant schmuck and take a fucking squeeze for America because we
Jason doing the fondle.
Nico.
The only thing is though, should we become, because there's a line between me wanting to leave the US because I'm not happy with Canada and taking Canada and making it a state of the US. Like there's a massive step between the two. But the more I look at what happened over the past 5 years, the more I'm considering it. Like 2 months ago when he first started with this shit, or a month and a half ago, I'm like, bro, stop with this bullshit. Like, you're fucking retarded. Now I'm like, I know behind the scene that there's a movement growing in Canada that people are like, we need somebody more like Trump. Like him or not, we're tired of our weak politicians fucking us up. Because it's not Trump that's fucking us. It's our own politicians that have been fucking us for decades. So I would love to see an honest poll taken from Canadians. I would love to hear from Canadians and just see, is there even a consideration?
Well,
Like, look
on
at
that
what we
note,
have right now. Mark Carney, Pierre Poliev, or you become an American citizen.
Can we
I
afford
would
it?
love to know.
Have you seen
And
our
on-
national debt? We're not even able to pay off the interest on our national debt. Can we afford Canada?
On that note, Nico, I think you're right. I mean, and even as someone who wants to stay Canadian, and I'll even admit probably a lot of my reasons are more romantic in nature. Just
Oh,
you know, I grew up
with
feeling
your feelings
Canadian.
again, Rob.
Yes, Neil, because everyone knows you have no feelings whatsoever. You're the most emotional guy on this show by far.
Yep.
However, one thing that you're saying is absolutely correct. Is there is this growing movement, and we were on Jason Levine's show, and that was,
Yep.
I mean, I'm not out west, I'm in East Coast. My brother lives in Alberta, and you know, I've had some interesting conversations with him about this, but it's a real thing. And even if you want Canada to stay as Canada, our politicians need to start paying attention to that, because that's if that keeps growing and growing, we won't have to worry about Trump taking Alberta. We'll have to worry about keeping Alberta in Canada, and you're not going to be able to do it if it gets to a certain point. And it sounds like it's getting pretty close to that point.
This is exact what you're saying is I agree with 100%. And there's so many Canadians that are bankrupt, that went bankrupt, that lost their jobs, that don't know where they fit anymore.
Yeah.
They've been treated like shit for the past 5 years, and they're
Their
like,
concerns are
my
absolutely
God.
valid.
And
are
that's
valid
my
concerns.
point. Yet
Yeah.
that conversation is not had anywhere. Nobody in the news is actually, and I don't care that they're left or right leaning. There's nobody in the news that is saying, you know what, maybe we should consider it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try to see, is this even feasible? And I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying, if you're giving me the choice between the destruction of my country that I love and joining another country that could prevent that, bro, I would have to think about it. I would literally, I haven't put real thought behind it, see if it makes sense or not.
You mean use it as a bargaining chip?
No.
Use it as leverage to bring everybody back to the middle?
It's really hard to tell what Trump's really meaning. I don't think.
I'm talking about the Canadians. Should they use this as a
I see.
bargaining chip to reinstitute and resecure their way of
our
life?
leaders need to take Alberta's concerns seriously, because Alberta, they are absolutely legitimate. Alberta has not been treated fairly by Canada, and anyone who thinks they have is not.
It's because you're not in Alberta.
Attention. Yeah, you're not paying attention.
The thing is, the way I see it is this way. We have a federal government and the Liberals that have done everything that they could to stop us from being self-reliant. I've said this so many times on this show, and I'm going to say it again. We have the third biggest reserve of oil and gas in the world, and we are third in hydroelectricity production. We are literally net zero when it comes to pollution because we have so much trees that we can't produce enough fucking pollution to actually do anything to this planet. In CO2, I'm talking about, obviously, we can pollute our waters and all that shit. But what I'm saying is we have a vast amount of natural resources. And this is why Trump is interested we all know that there's two reasons why Trump is interested. He wants to prevent people and drugs from entering from Canada, because most people don't know this, but do you know that there's more terrorists alike individuals crossing from the north than from the south?
None of them cross the Mexican border. Zero.
But that's my point. So we've been infiltrated by China. Like, this is a fact. You can just fucking do your research. You're going to see that it's been a massive concern for a long time, but we downplay it. So I see where Trump is going, where he's coming from, saying that, we have a problem with the northern border. And at the same time, you got a guy that's looking at our economy. He's not dumb. He knows what I just said there. He fucking understands this. So there's two parts. He could use this to secure North America altogether. Because remember, guys, on a nice day, Alaska can see Russia. Like, as in, I stand on the coast and I can see Russia. Stop thinking about it.
Don't say that.
But it's true. But it's
fucking Sarah Palin.
No, but it is. But it is actually true.
Redo. I could see Russia from my house.
I could see Russia from my house.
But fuck. But the worst part is that it's not a joke. Like, on a nice day, you can actually see across. Like, we see our world in a 2D map when it's a globe, right? So Russia is very close to Canada, is very close to the US. But what I'm saying is Trump could use that as an excuse to secure North America as a whole, and then use the resources that we have here in Canada to create good jobs. Because at the end of the day, there's no reasons for us as Canadians not to be top 5 superpower when it comes to energy in the world.
Definitely.
There's no reason. Yet we're nowhere fucking close. We still export most of our fucking gas from somewhere else. We don't even refine our own fucking gas. We send it to the US so that they can send it.
And then you buy it back $1.50 on the dollar, man.
So imagine that you had a leader that thought more like Trump, to say, drill, 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 stop purchasing everything from other countries, and let's start being self-reliant. This is what I want. Would I rather stay Canadian? Would I rather Canada stay Canada? Yes, because I'm a conspiracy theorist, and if Canada becomes part, but if Canada becomes part of the US, we're closer to a one world order. That's what scares the shit out of me.
We shouldn't. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you see how big of a country we become? If Canada becomes part of the US, we're already the biggest country in the world. Imagine adding the US to that with all the natural resources.
So that means any totalitarian law they pass is going to apply to every country. You do not want a world order, my man.
Which is what scares me. So on one side, I'm like, I wish we had somebody like Trump that would just drill.
Yesterday. Hey, Rob, listen. Let's say drill's not your thing. Let's say you're one of these green people that think the whole world can be powered on wind or whatever. Elon Musk himself said 100 square miles of solar panels can power the entire United States of America. It's the challenge is just the sustainment of not sun, because you can still get sunburn when there's clouds out in the sky, right? So Libertarian John Stossel was talking about, what happens when there's no sun? I'm like, John Stossel, you played beach volleyball and you can get sunburns in the clouds. All right.
Yeah.
But let's say it's not drill, baby drill. Let's say you're trying to get rid of big oil or these big institutions that are profiting off of whatever, stripping the earth, which we call bullshit, right? 100 square miles of solar panels, according to one of the smartest men in the world, not just one of the richest men, because they're trying to call Elon dumb. He ain't dumb. Guy wrote his first computer coded 10. Okay. So is he a little bit autistic? Yeah. But if that man says 100 square miles of solar panels can power the United States, how about give him a chance to put his money where his mouth is, and everyone walks away, everybody's happy except maybe the old people.
Well, yeah, and what I find sort of fascinating is they are putting up these massive solar panels, but they're putting them on, especially in the UK, they're putting them on like prime farmland. You know, I mean, there does seem to be this weird sort of war against farmers across the West, and I don't really understand that. And I'm
What
not
about land that's not being used, Rob? Right?
well, that's what I mean. It doesn't need to be on prime farmland. Throw it out in the middle of the fucking Mojave or whatever, and fucking Bob's your uncle, right? I don't. I think it's so frustrating for us as common sense people, and I think for a lot of common sense people, because the solutions are not. You don't need to be a fucking genius. They're obvious. The solutions are obvious, and when normal people see that we're not doing the obvious things, but they expect us to eat bugs and you know, completely rearrange our lives while they continue to jet set around the planet
and have have 8-ounce fillets. Yeah,
to the climate conference. Like
bugs.
you smell, you know, it's like, you know, like we said the other day, you look around to see if my dog took a shit maybe somewhere because it doesn't smell right, and I don't. It's frustrating. And to what you're saying though, like hypothetically, if I am sort of drill baby drill, and I don't think that needs to be a problem. Extract the resources in an environmentally responsible way. That should just be the way of things. And then as part of that, you need to also have ability to get your resources out to the world markets, which is why, again, we've talked on this show, instead of taking the money from tariffs, I don't know how much money they think they're going to do, because that's going to be an ever shrinking pool, because the tariffs will itself reduce the amount of goods that are coming across the border that you can then get put tariffs on. Why not take that money and invest in the infrastructure of this country?
I'm sandwiched between two Canadians right now, so I have a question for my.
But hold on, but before we go there, let me just add to what Rob said.
Please, yeah.
If you guys haven't seen the podcast that we recorded with Judith Curry, you need to go check it out.
It's a great one.
That's a must.
Because that woman is absolutely brilliant in the way she approaches it. We need to stop saying that oil and gas are the devil and use them where it makes sense. We need to develop our power policies based on where it's needed. Nuclear, geothermal, oil and gas, air. If solar panels are the way to go, then be it. We need to be able to have technology based on the terrain. Because
you got hair on fire climate believers should be pushing nuclear. You know what I mean? That should be the top of their agenda.
How when they're not in geothermal? And geothermal. But the point I wanted to make is, if you go back to Elon Musk, this is where you started the conversation. Elon, the biggest problem that, again, most climate change supporters don't understand is when it comes to wind, when it comes to solar, it is not a constant feed of energy. So I wanted to be self-sufficient at my life. That's the only thing that was left for me, is to install solar panel on my house, and I would have been 100% self-sufficient.
Right. That's the challenge, though, right?
The problem is storing that energy, because it is not a constant source of power. So this is why people don't know this, but Elon Musk, Tesla has nothing to do with cars. Tesla is a battery a battery. They produce electricity, they produce energy. It's a battery. That's all they're doing. And he bought a company down in Texas. That's why he moved Tesla's headquarters to Texas, because he has a company down there that you never hear about, but he's been operating it for years now, where they're developing batteries that can be installed next to regular energy source, but that could feed states. Remember when Texas went down a few years ago? And I was actually in Texas when it happened. I think it was 3 years ago. Texas
went Cruz down. Said, "I'm getting the fuck out." Vacation time.
But the point is that Elon Musk, one of his companies, is developing battery technology that can be installed on the grid, be recharged by the grid. But if the grid goes down, it's big enough to sustain the grid. And this is where the biggest problem that we're having is that technology does not exist right now.
You cannot have on the experimental phase.
My point exactly. Or it takes too much space. Like the battery that you require, it's like, remember 50 years, I went there's something called a Defen bunker in Canada, which is where the Canadian politicians would have went. It's underground. This is where in the 70s, if during the Cold War, if shit happens, they would go. we went there. We would bring customers there because I was in telecommunications. Rooms and rooms and rooms of massive servers and fucking antiquity technology. And I'm sitting there on my cell phone that's 10 times more powerful than all the fucking rooms combined. We're just not at that stage yet. We're not at the stage of the battery being so small that it makes sense, but it's getting there. So at one point, solar panels will make sense where solar panels make sense. You know,
but you see how the batteries and the solar panels are kissing cousins, right? Because batteries, by in the classic sense of the definition, means storing energy, right?
100%.
And this is not something that's not happened. This is something that's in the experimental phase. Woody Harrelson and Willie Nelson, who have houses next to each other in Hawaii, which solar
probably
energy
smoke a lot of weed. There's a
Yeah,
lot of weed smoke coming from that neighborhood.
Both of their homes are entirely, those two sit on beach chairs next to each other, smoke weed, and just, I mean, and to them, let me tell you something. If that's your thing, man, life is great because that's what life is about. One of the nicest places in the world with the best views, probably some good weed. But both of their houses are 100% powered by solar. Right.
Yep.
So this is not something that's non-existent. This is something that's happening in certain areas on its best legs, or is in the experimental phase on its worst legs. My question about
it's expensive. It's just expensive.
Right.
For now,
because even if you look, Tesla had developed a battery. I think it got pulled, but they had developed a battery technology for solar panel. It said Tesla on it, just like it could be right next to your Tesla charger in your garage, but you could hook up your solar panels to it, and it had enough battery to run your house. I was actually looking into this. They even had technology that, your shingles that you install on your roof, instead of being shingles, they were small solar panels.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
And they would feed that Tesla battery. But I haven't heard about that tech. I haven't looked into it either. Like let's not, like, I won't be, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. It's just, I was looking at turning my house at 100% self-sufficient. That's the only thing I was missing. The technology wasn't there 5 years ago. Maybe it's closer now, but they were already talking about this.
Guys, I'm speaking a little bit into my wheelhouse because I'm a veteran of the United States Army, and my MOS was something we call a 52 Delta. That's a diesel generator mechanic. So I serviced, fixed, and repaired 5K generators, 10K generators, 100K generators for hospitals. Right, the lights. If you get a blackout, the hospitals are still going to have lights. Right, so I like solar panels, but with emergency contingencies. When I went to communication sites to fix their generators, you know what they did? They took the wires, unplugged the generator, and plugged it into their Humvee and powered the entire communication site off of their Humvee until I fixed the generator. Right. So there are ways to store and ideas that will allow us to whatever, but it definitely involves big oil. It's included, but I'm just saying it's included, but shouldn't be limited to big oil. That's all I was saying. My question,
agreed 100%.
Does Canada have tariffs on the United States?
We went through that. We have a long-standing tariffs with. I don't understand exactly why dairy seems to have a unique
dairy and poultry
protection racket within Canada, but they will always protect the dairy industry, and that must have been negotiated with NAFTA and then the most recent one, MSCA, I think, but. Right. For whatever reason, the Americans have allowed it. I don't know why. It results in much higher dairy prices for us.
Right.
It's good for the dairy farmers, essentially.
And it's great for big
ag. No, it's not. Actually, it's not. That's incorrect.
No,
it is not good for. No, this is the part that the news. So to answer your question, Jason, there's Rob actually went through it. It was the dairy and poultry. There's still like 200 something % on poultry. Now, to address what you're saying about the dairy industry, that's incorrect. That's what they tell us, but it's incorrect. Do you know that not only is there we have massive amount of tariffs on American products so that they can't compete with us, we fix the price of our dairy products. The government sets the price, meaning that the farmers cannot produce more than a certain amount. Just last week, my wife was telling me how she follows this guy and he always dumps, like he's literally taking milk, drinking it and dumping it on the ground because he can't sell it as a dairy farmer. The government prevents him from producing, because think about it. it's always how do you control a market? Supply and demand. The more there is supply, the least you're gonna charge for it, because there's less and less demand. The more there is available, there's less demand. But if you can control the amount of supply, your demand doesn't really change for dairy, right? So you get to shrink your supply. You can control the rate at whatever the fuck you want, because there's no competition. And that's what's happening with the dairy, because a lot of farmers are complaining that you're basically you're handcuffing them, saying you can have all the cows in the world, but you can't produce more than that, and they're literally dumping that shit in the garbage. It's insane. It's absolutely
I just find
insane.
that grotesque.
But it's a mafia. Look at Montreal. Do you know that most city contracts to repair the street goes to the mafia? The company owned by Italian mafia. And that is known. Like, everybody knows that in Montreal, and it's just like, well, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't feel like getting shot. So for all the cartels over there, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, we love you.
But I don't feel like getting shot.
Yeah, because we don't feel like getting shot either.
You know, I mean, yeah, we got to stop messing with these gangsters. Like, look, me surviving the mean streets of Hermosa Beach, I share your sentiment. Every day I'm apologizing to Crips and Bloods because I use the term Demo Crips and Rebloodlickings.
Yeah.
And I have to apologize to them, because not even they're as bad as the two biggest gangs in America that make the cartel say, damn.
Yeah.
Let's take a few comments, because man, we lost a lot of it. Mikey's saying hello, Jason. Then Prairie's talking to Mikey. So there seemed to be conversation. I fucking love when people have conversations.
Yeah, we like that.
We've seen this one. Hey Prairie. Everybody's nice.
Guys, remember to like and share if you're feeling this conversation today. Smash that like button, share it, because that's the biggest way.
Share the link.
Yep, share the link from the stream itself. That's the biggest way you can help us out. Biggest way to get us out there, because that's at this point, it's just about growing the show, getting in front of more eyeballs, and just building a community here. Because as you guys see over the past couple weeks, now that we've really started to get a lot of engagement, it completely changes the dynamic of the show. It makes it much stronger, much more engaging for everyone involved. So yeah, if you could do that.
Because we recorded our first one Monday without an audience, and it's not the same.
It wasn't the same at all. We had Billboard Chris.
No, X was down.
Yeah,
you couldn't stream on X. So,
and he was on Tim Pool's show last night.
My Monday morning was empty. I had to find something else to do.
He went from our show to Tim Pool's show the next day, which was
hey Rob, what's Melissa saying?
Melissa Lane, 2 years for MRI. So this is back to our healthcare conversation maybe 20 minutes ago. 2 years for an MRI, 1 year for bypass surgery. She agrees that is ridiculous, and she says, "Hi, Jason." She because Matt, you were Jason, for the audience, Jason's evolved his content creation is about volleyball, which is a pretty interesting niche, and I guess Melissa is a high-end volleyball player.
You should think about following us, Melissa. We have conversations like these.
And let's correct Rob. My podcast is the most viewed podcast in beach volleyball.
Oh shit! Yeah,
I have more viewership than the second place, third, and fourth combined.
Big swinging dick in the beach volleyball world.
And you can New Jack swing.
Yeah, he's half black, so it's not even it's not even an exaggeration. Yeah,
that's right.
No.
Going back to MAID, the assisted dying program in Canada, 35,000 Canadians have gone by MAID already. They're extending it from people that were in terminal life to people with psychological problems. It's fucking insane what they're doing. Like, they literally, hey, you have a psychological problem? What? Maybe you're trans. Oh, you're not trans? Well, maybe you should die.
Yeah, just die anyways. The slippery slope is, we're absolutely correct on MAID, at least here in Canada.
What she's saying right there, and they're thinking about offering it to children.
Insane. It's just insane. I don't know how. Like, the people who said worst case scenario, everything they said came to pass. And I was an early believer because I thought it was going to be like the very most terminal people who were at the last month of their life, and just to save them from pain. And I actually knew someone, a girl I was seeing, who her grandfather went, and I remember thinking, like, he was what I would say the prototypical version. He was just very old, racked with cancer and extreme pain. And I didn't go to the day as she went, but she said, just surrounded by his family, people he loved, and he went at a place and time of his choosing. And I thought that sounds to me like there's value there. But since then, when we see how it's actually been done, and at the end of the day, the intent of a system is not what it claims to do, it's what it actually does. And so when we see the way it has gone, and it hasn't even been long, like immediately they went to the worst case scenario. So clearly they can't be trusted. And my opinions on Mate has shifted dramatically.
Right.
You know, my stepdad had terminal cancer, fought it for 5-6 years, at least 5 years, where it was literally month after month he was going from radiation to chemo. They were always experimenting on new drugs on him. He was at a point where he had esophagus cancer, so they had to remove the esophagus, stretch the inside all the way, like literally take his stomach, stretch it all the way up, so he couldn't really eat big meals anymore. Either way, the point is that was before MAID.
Yeah.
But man, how many times has he told me, like in private conversations between him and I'd like to die. I'm at a point where there was no way. He went from like 210 pounds to 145, 140 pounds. He was gray by the end. All he did, like he was telling me, on a good month, he had 1 week where he didn't have any symptoms of the radiation or the chemo. Right after it, you're okay, but then you're fucked for 2 to 3 weeks. So 1 week at a time. They called it quality of life. What the fucking biggest big acts ever. Bullshit. You're making somebody comfortable until they fucking die, but they're not comfortable. But how many times have what was his biggest worry? What scared him the most about dying?
Leaving like who's going to take care of someone left behind? No.
Losing his mind.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the
Yep.
He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And what scared him is to lose his capacity for thinking. That scared the shit out of him. You could have chopped his legs off, chop his arm off.
Yeah. And spend the last 20 years being a vegetable.
This is what scares me the most, bro.
Yeah.
Right. I'm scared shitless of I will never go through chemo. I will never go through radiation. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. But man, would it scare me to lose my mind.
Nico, I did a play a decade and a half ago called Painless. It was the doctor. We did a Dr. Kevorkian, kind of like this theater of the absurd style approach to Dr. Kevorkian's level of thinking. Educating audience, Jack Kevorkian was jailed in the United States for performing euthanasia. So he was traveling. He had a van and he was traveling across the country. And anyone that had someone that wanted to die and wanted their death hastened, he performed something I call the service to humanity. And the important things that we need to remember that Nico stumbled onto, that we should keep this ball rolling for a little bit. The conflicting forces here are the quality of life versus the sanctity of life. All right. Now, some of you take a religious approach to this, some of you take a agnostic approach to this, and some of you take a sociological approach to this, but the net result is the same. Someone's suffering, they don't want to be on this earth anymore, and they want you to help them out, and they're of sound mind, and they made their decision. We have a decision to make. So I'd like to explore, since we already stumbled on this, I'd like to explore the battle, the inner battle of everybody's head, of the conflicting forces versus the quality of life versus life itself.
So that's a great point. I mean, it's an incredibly complex topic, but for me, I like I said at the beginning, I saw that it can work. I saw scenarios where it can work. And Nico, your conversation about your grandfather sounds like that was a good.
My stepfather.
Your stepfather. Okay, that was like a good example of where it might work as well. What we've seen, so like, to me, it's sort of like I would like it to be available and not at all promoted. I don't want to see doctors suggesting it. Everyone should know that it's there. If you want it, you talk to your doctor. And I think we should not have it for mental health issues. For me, it should be end of life, terminal issues, 3 to 6 months left to live, extreme pain. Like, it should be hard. It should be rare. But since they've proven that they can't do that, and the abuses and the potential for abuse is so extreme, I don't know what the solution to that is. It's an extremely complex and nuanced topic.
And Nico, I didn't want to bring this up, but my stepfather passed away. 2020. I couldn't even, because of the pandemic. This is February 2020. I couldn't even see him, and he died it started with cancer, and then dementia and all the combination of so many things. And I know real manly men don't cry here, and I kept my mouth shut because I wasn't trying to make this a competition. But my stepfather, who we've talked,
Well, you've talked about him. He's
talked in private.
the
Who was
guy
who,
in
as
your
far
life,
as I'm concerned,
right?
was my father. Right.
Mhm.
Well, your biological doesn't bother. That's when you grow up looking for a father figure, you're gonna find one. Thank God that guy was there. So sorry, I didn't mean to get all emotional, and I'm always
No, it's
feeling
all
like
No, I appreciate you
sorry.
sharing that, because
Yeah,
that's
I didn't even, and I was just trying to hold it together because I didn't even get a chance to see him because this free country wouldn't allow me to get on the plane and fly and go and see him in his last days or even bury him.
and we talked about that before. Nico, I think, what was it, your
Yep.
grandmother? Same situation. We've
Yep.
had audience
I
members
went
beef on
to
him
see her
on.
though.
Oh,
Fuck it. I just went. I was my aunt and I
How
were
you
the
got
only two
balls.
people that actually, and it was meant March 2020 when in my head I had a 12-gauge shotgun loaded because zombies were coming, right? This is
Yes.
I grew up watching zombie movies. March 2020,
everyone's infected.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm moving to the
Nico,
woods
Nico,
like
they're
a
not. They're
fucking
not.
no. I moved to the woods like a hermit.
You're one of
And I
them.
looked. I was on my chair outside just waiting for motherfucking zombies. No, I'm just kidding. This is
Nico's
when
like, I've
I
been waiting
went
for
to
this my
see.
whole life.
Yes. But I went to see my grandmother. But in Canada it was hard because after that you couldn't anymore. I don't want to say I got lucky because most of my family did not go see her. Only my aunt and I did. But to go back to my stepfather, like we had some really deep conversation. Like I'm not somebody that shies away from hard conversations. Now I can say it because it's long gone. But I had offered my father because he married my mother later on, and I really had a lot of respect for this man. I offered to kill him. As fucked up as this sounds, I'm like, bro, if you really want to go down that path, because there was no way for him to do it, and what he did not want to lose his mind, and the only other reason that he never committed suicide is because he did not want my mother to lose his military pension, and the insurance companies wouldn't pay.
Would that happen? I didn't
Because they
know
don't
that.
cover suicides.
Wow.
They don't cover suicide, so my mother
You
would have
think the military pension above all else should probably cover
No.
that.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm really not disagreeing with you,
Yeah.
considering the amount of trauma that those guys go through. But all he wanted to do is he was battling I don't want to become a vegetable, but I also want to provide for my families. And this is a man.
Yeah.
I didn't like we wouldn't agree on a lot today because of my political views. He was more liberal, but goddamn, that's a man right there. And I'm gonna get emotional about this, but this is the part I understand why I
He's
wish
old school
Mate was
liberal.
there, because I literally offered my dad, do you want me to figure it out? Like I would have done it, bro. He had been suffering for years and years and years. And as much as I did not want to, I would have done it. It's like, your dog is hurting and you know that he can't live like this anymore. Is it hard to shoot him in the back of the head? Of course it is. But you like that animal, right? And it's the same thing for my dad. I loved my stepdad.
Well, maybe
that guy was there with no
shooting someone.
No, but I'm using this as an example. It's just that we had conversations of me offering him, do you want us to figure it out? Like, do you want us to put a plan together?
Yeah.
I've never admitted to this on camera. I don't even think my wife knows this, but he didn't want to do it. So this is why real men are needed, because you got a man like him that was ready to suffer for years just so that my mom was taken care of.
Because he
That
felt
was his main priority.
that's man shit.
He's a man. He's a man.
Because he felt like
a man.
That's masculinity, right? That's the class. That's just
so fucking toxic. What a toxic asshole.
What's the toxic?
What a toxic asshole.
Guys, can I finish this subject of the conversation from a full Monty quote? Because the guy's trying to kill himself, and they ended up saving him from suicide. So they're laying down, and they're like, you know what? Drowning. Well, that's the way to go. And the guy's like, I can't swim. And he's like, well, that's the whole fucking point. He says, so maybe you get a mate to smack a truck into you. He's like,
I wouldn't want to drown.
No mates. He's like, we're your bloody mates. Don't talk to us like that. So I just wanted to leave with that. But like the swimming part was drowning is the way to go. And the guy's like, well, I can't swim. And then they're like,
yeah, well, yeah.
That's the whole fucking point.
You'll do well. Steven, that's a great. You go ahead.
Full Monty, guys. 1997.
just to go, we'll finish on this for the suicide killing portion of this show. Steven, are you homeless, mentally ill, old? Have you considered dying? As bad as this sounds, this is what Canada is becoming. It's literally, we don't want to deal with those people, or we don't want to address the problem, so let's kill them. How fucked up is that, right?
Mm.
And this
Yeah.
is not killing, by the way, this is
I
murder.
can't see the whole
So-
quote, guys. Can you read that for me?
Are you homeless, mentally ill, old, or have you considered dying? Funny how it was expended to be the people who were most burdensome on the system they claim are all working as intended. So he's absolutely right. We're literally went from trying to help people like my stepdad, which would have been the perfect candidate for maid, to, oh shit, you don't want to live anymore? Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
as Rob said, it should be hard. You should have
You should have to
steps
fight your
to go
doctors. You
through.
should have to fight your
Oh
doctors
fuck!
to get.
Your doctor should be like, no. You don't want to do this.
Yeah,
It's-
you
and
should
the
have
other
to make the
part-
case to your doctor. I believe.
I haven't
You know,
seen
if
a
you
doctor
come
in
to a
3 years,
point-
dude. I don't trust him.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm look. If you tell your doctor you think you're vaccine injured in California, they're the first ones to say it's all in your mind, without even doing blood work, without even doing a blood test, without even examining you.
But if
It's
you
that
say you
blood
have long
test.
COVID, I bet you they'll jump all over that.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I'm
YouTube.
yes, YouTube. Quick
YouTube,
cucking
yeah.
for big pharma, right? I mean, you could see a commercial tomorrow being like, "Do you go to bed at night and wake up
Yes.
the next day?"
Oh my
It's
God, I have
shit,
that.
I got that.
That's me.
Is there a pill for that shit? I got that disease. I got that.
Yeah. Have you ever felt uncomfortable at any moment in your life? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Nico,
Here's the
do you shave your mustache and it grows back?
Well, here's the
The
pill
most
for that.
insane thing ever. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I put my hat on. I
Again,
don't even
that's
fucking
real.
remember.
Because that's a spoiler. Though. That's not even a conspiracy theory. We just call those.
Yeah, I don't
spoilers
even-
now.
Shall we get started in the videos I had planned for today?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
An
is
hour
the
and
fun
20
part of
minutes
our-
in. Let's
the
get to
fun
the
part of my
show.
day, Nico. Yeah.
It's only an hour, 16 minutes in. Maybe
Let's-
we get a video going.
Let's get to the show.
You know,
What
I'm
a fucking
not
journey
sure.
so far, by the way.
I'm just trying to see which one, because I wanted to talk about, I had a really nice flow of videos, and I wanted to talk about Doug Ford yesterday, and it would lead to what Trump has said. So shall we? Because again, Rob and I have been talking about this for weeks now,
Yeah.
how we have no leverage. We need to stop pumping our chest. So I'll play the videos.
It's funny because
but
I've heard
let's-
that Ford flip flop, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm interested. To
Oh,
see
well, there you go. Once again, I did the research. You're
that.
welcome.
Perhaps Ford was listening to the show. Maybe
Oh.
he's getting his advice from this show.
So let's see, like, here you go. I had to go edit this video myself, but here is, hold on, here is the conversation that he had yesterday, pumping his chest on CNN, if I'm not mistaken. It's gonna say, because I left the source there, but I'm pretty sure it was CNN. So
Okay.
let's hear what Doug Ford had to
Ontario's
say.
Premier Doug Ford announced earlier
PBS,
today
sorry,
he
PBS.
is slapping a 25% surcharge on the electricity his province exports to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. Here now to explain why he's taking that step is Premier Doug Ford. Welcome to the News Hour, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Alana, for having me on. And I always start off with every interview. I love Americans. I spent 20 years of my life there. And I know Canadians love Americans, and I know Americans love Canadians. This is so unnecessary what President Trump is doing, not just to Canada, but his own country.
Premier, if I may, why take this step now then? What's the response you're hoping to get from the Trump administration?
Well, President Trump has said many times he's going to put a tariff on, then he pulls it off, then he puts it back on. Once I touch the stove once and get burned, I'm not going to get burnt again. And I apologize to the American people. I've talked to 3 governors. They understand the situation we're in. We have to negotiate through strength, not weakness. And I'd prefer to create an AMCAN fortress, American-Canadian fortress, and be the strongest, most resilient, and richest, safest 2 countries in the world. He should be keeping an eye on China. He shouldn't be worried about Canada.
You've said, too, that if the U.S. escalates, you won't, quote, hesitate to shut the electricity off completely. What do you view as escalation?
Well, that's the last thing I want to do. You know, I love our American neighbors. I want to send them more electricity. I want to send them more critical minerals. We want to send them more energy in total. That's the last thing. But when President Trump is attacking our families, our businesses, taking food off people's tables, putting an unemployment line as long as as long as you can imagine. But this is happening on both sides of the border. It's not just going to happen on one side of the border. I do not understand his rationale, and we just want to sit down and have a fair USMCA deal that he created, and he said it was the greatest deal ever. So I don't know why it's not the greatest deal ever now, but we want to sit down and negotiate with him.
He did end up pausing many of the tariffs he wanted to impose on Canada. If he moves forward with those, would you view that as escalation? Would you then shut off electricity exports completely?
Well, I'd add another 25% onto the tariff charge right now. So it'd be a total of 50%. But that's the last thing I want to do. If we take the 4.3 million barrels of crude oil we ship down daily, that helps your economy move forward. If you put that to the side, the U.S. has a $56 billion surplus on Canada, and I'm fine with that. That's not a problem. But let's sit down and negotiate like two business-minded people.
So that is what he had to say. Now, we heard
like
what
he
he
got
said,
a phone call from someone.
but right now, this was him yesterday. Now, this all happened in the past 24 hours. So this is him acting tough on PBS. There's some of the things that he said that I agree with, that we should work together. We agree. But this is the video he released later on that day yesterday.
A little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. You know, with any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. This is a massive, massive deal, the USMCA, which the federal government will be leading the charge. I'll be sitting down with all our premiers tomorrow as well and discussing this and their issues as well. So we're going to go down there and we're going to go down there with confidence. We're going to go down there with strength. And
okay, blah, 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 blah. He's going to try to make it sound like it's awesome. But basically, we went within the span of a few hours. We will retaliate. He was talking not even 25% anymore. He was talking 50% surcharge on power that is being sold from Ontario to 1.5 million businesses / houses in Michigan, New York, and shit. What's the third one?
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
No, I think it's Pennsylvania, but at least 3 states in the U.S. that Ontario supplies and power 1.5 million houses / businesses. So you saw Doug Ford go from being super confident with his smile on PBS to looking like a whipped dog in the last video now. But before we go, let me, because I can't finish that without showing Trump. I have a Trump video of Trump doing what Trump does and pissing people off and just like, I won. So let me play. let me play this video, then
play
let's
the video
talk about
first.
it.
Yeah.
But the 3-1 needs to be played one after the other, because Happy, Whip Dog, and now we're gonna see.
Well, I even felt that first video, he seemed like he stepped back a little from when we first saw him a couple days ago. Like, because for a couple days ago, he was like fire and brimstone. And the first one we saw today, his demeanor changed, but he was still talking the same. And then the third one, everything changed.
But
there's
let's agree that he went on PBS, not Fox News.
Yes.
Fox News would have laughed him out of there. Like, are you fucking serious?
So yeah, I want to see
bro?
Trump's.
Like,
I want to see Trump's take or Trump's video, and
Fuck
then
it.
we'll
telling
talk
you,
about-
I wanted to smack Trump. Like, the way he talks to him, he's such an ass.
Did you ever see the clip? It's really funny where it compares like Obama to Trump, and they both are talking about. I think when he's talking, I think they're talking about when Obama when Trump took out one of the terrorists, like Abu Bakr or whatever.
Oh yeah, I love it.
He died,
Died like a dog.
It's a great
And
video.
it's supposed to make fun of Trump. Like,
But
yeah.
it makes for great TV. You got to give him that. Trump, I
Died like a
understand how.
dog.
And you'll see, this is no different. Trump is very good at trying to poke people, right? Just watch this.
Oh,
Already
yeah.
Canada, and I respect very much. As you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was
Doug Ford.
going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did, and he's not going to do that. So I respect that. But we were just informed that he's not going to do that.
The Ontario Premier calling you and giving you his decision about the electricity surcharge, and you said you were pleased about that. Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you
Well, now I'm
reduce
looking
it?
at that, but probably so, yeah.
You're looking
He was
at
a
it.
gentleman.
Will you reduce it back?
He was a gentleman. Look, I said it before. We give Canada $200 billion a year. We subsidize Canada between all of the things we give them and trade. We give them. We don't have to have cars made in Canada. We don't have to have lumber from Canada. We have tremendous lumber. We have tremendous trees. All I have to do is
The best
unfreeze
trees.
them
The best trees.
from some of the
Tremendous
restrictions
trees.
that we're putting on. I can do that with an executive order. We don't need energy. We have more energy than anybody else in the world. So we spend $200 billion a year subsidizing Canada. We don't have to do that. And frankly, the way that gets solved is Canada should honestly become our 51st state. We wouldn't have a
So there's that's a great clip to play with the addition, because I think it adds total
You're
context. And
Just a face.
There's actual. I try my best to make sense.
yeah.
right?
Don't strain your arm patting yourself on the back there too hard.
But
But
they're great videos. Probably the
the best
best
videos,
in world.
videos,
The best videos. The best
some
videos.
tremendous trees. But
Tremendous videos. Tremendous.
I think it adds a lot of context to the whole situation, and sort of gives us a lot of meat on the bone to pick, so to speak. So a couple things. I actually think from the substance of what happened, you could it wasn't clear that there was a clear winner or loser. The only thing that told us that was the body language of Doug Ford at the that's how you know that there was an actual winner and loser. However, Trump's video there, he's definitely getting a little better at the diplomacy thing. He said he's a strong leader, which for Trump that's high praise. He said he respects.
I think that was a job, though. I think.
Oh, do you
I think
think?
the first part.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I looked at other people's opinion, and they're
Okay.
like, "He's a strong man." No, that
okay.
sounded
So
like.
maybe I'm not the Trump whisperer, but I took it as him being a little chucking a bone here to Doug Ford. But okay, let's go with that point. I guess that explains why Doug Ford's body language was what it was in that second clip. But I mean, to me, I actually don't hate too much what happened. Like Ford we talk a little bit about leverage. Canada as a whole doesn't have leverage. Ford used he did have a little bit of leverage there, like 1.5 million Americans over 3 states. That is nothing to sneeze at. Now, so he stuck it out there, and then clearly he got called by Trump or whoever. Whoever in Trump's administration,
it was his
secretary. Did he say Litnick?
it's
or
the
something?
Yeah. Fuck, I have the
Ludnick?
name. I should have found the name. Is the Secretary of Trade. I'll find it right now.
Okay, but basically, he was clearly called to slap his pee a little bit, and you could tell by the body language of Doug Ford that that's what happened. But Trump also did, they said, will this affect your, how you take the tariff? And he's like, non-committal, but, maybe we'll see. Like, there's clearly some sort of a tit for tat, that like there's a negotiation tactic going on. And I don't hate it too much. At least he's dealing with Americans with the attempt to get tariffs pulled back, as opposed to the rest of the leaders that we see. All they're doing is, thumping their chest and waving their dicks around and doing things that might feel good, especially to the liberal base who just wants to go after Trump, but it doesn't help us at all get rid of any of the tariffs. So we'll have to see what happens out of this. But if there is some even incremental pullback, then clearly you got to like what Ford did a little bit. He didn't really have too many cards to play. And maybe if you can get small incremental improvements, maybe that's something to be said.
So the name of the person is the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. That's the person we're talking about. Now, going back to Ford, I think that he got slapped in the back of the head a la Zelensky.
Well,
he got a call from somebody saying...
His body language clearly suggested
Speaking
that.
of not holding the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it because... Again, this is something that you don't hear in any of those videos, but I did the research. 90% of Ontario's exports go where? US. So he had no leverage whatsoever. He tried to act, and hey, Jason, just so you know, this guy's a conservative. That is the leader of the Conservative Party Ontario, a fucking liberal masquerading as a conservative. That's who we got. So I guarantee you that he talked tough because he thought he could, because he thinks he's dealing with Biden still. I don't think they've realized that Trump is a completely different animal. And they tried their little tactic. Exactly. But I guarantee you he got a call saying, you sure? Is that really what you want to do? Because 90% of your exports, bro, and you're going to cut the power to 1.5 million Americans during the winter? Mm-hmm. It's not even legal for us to do that to our own people. So please...
Well, me and you said at the time, this is not smart. You don't want these headlines. One old person dies in their home, even if it was from whatever.
Brother.
And
they got an excuse to invade Canada now.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you that he received a call that was like, you sure? You sure, bro? That's the card you want to play?
Nice province you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it.
It's a marvelous province, probably the best province.
The best. But, tremendous trees.
But that's the thing. What bothers me about this is that could have been done a month ago. It could have been done. Ford, instead of pumping his chest, Justin Trudeau, instead of pumping his chest, Pierre Poilievre, instead of pumping his chest, all those fucking idiots trying to pump their chest. Why didn't they just start posting and making videos saying, Trump, we want to have a conversation. Let's figure this out. Instead of playing the big guy, why not simply just every content that you create, every post that you make is just about, hey, Trump, let's sit down. Let's figure this out. This is no good for neither of our countries. Can we just fucking figure it out instead of playing that tit for tat game and trying to act tough when you have no leverage? Because as much as it's cool for Doug Ford to back down, and he's got a call from what was his name, Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, to go sit down. And by what I was reading this morning, it's tomorrow. He's going to go down on Thursday because today he's meeting with the other provinces. But the problem is that our new prime minister, he's not prime minister yet, but he will become very soon, just posted today that he wants to slap a $20.6 billion tariff dollar for dollar for American imports in Canada. So he's going to continue down the path. So our prime minister that was not elected but chosen by a bunch of corrupt politicians is now saying that he will smack a 20 billion plus tariff on American goods. So as much as it seems we'll have a small win with Ford, Carney is not going anywhere.
Yeah,
just so you know, they already met. I think it was 2 days ago. Carney sat down with Doug Ford. So a premier that is conservative is sitting down with one of arguably the worst fucking person we could have had as the leader of Canada, Mark Carney, a fucking proclaimed globalist, he sat down with him and kissed the ring, and that's where his little threats seem to start, is after he actually met with Carney. So we got to be careful.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Not a great moment. Jason, what's your take on that?
I'm glad you asked.
You're raising your hand.
Yeah.
It's like, hey.
No, I just did this just patiently.
Yeah. Sometimes
When
you got to,
Nico-
though. Like the three of us, we all got things to say,
When
right?
Nico,
So
well, no, this is Canadian politics, and
yeah.
for me to take more
Sure.
airtime from the people who have firsthand knowledge and did the research would be podcast malpractice. So in a rare occasion, I knew when to shut the fuck up and wait and talk at the and wait my turn. When Nico showed me the first two videos, the song in my head was Amy Winehouse. Try to make me go to rehab. And I said, no. Because what happened between that first video and that second video was the biggest case of rehabilitation.
They made him go to rehab.
Better than you will see in any fucking Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Better than me going to an AA meeting. Hi, that's why I raised my hand. Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm an alcoholic. And my Canadian friends are supposed to say, hey, hi, Jason, right? All I was thinking was fucking Amy Winehouse and rehab, because what happened between that first video and that second video was rehab. And I'll
intervention
why.
for sure.
These fucking people, because of the media, you get caught in this false dichotomy with Donald Trump. Either you're bending the knee and sucking up to him, or you rebel against him, and nothing in between. And Trump right now, when you try to out alpha that dude, I'm not saying it's his gift, but it's politicians' rehabilitation gift to bring everyone back to the middle, where we could talk like mammals. That's what we saw with Zelensky, because eventually he came back. That's what we're seeing with this guy, because he came back. And like Nico said, it would be so much easier if you just do your fucking job. These people are worrying about being reelected, and they feel like if they put on a certain show that they're standing up to him, when the people just want someone that can talk to him and see if he changes his mind. Because again, I was on his podcast week after week after week, and I demonstrated examples week after week after week how Donald Trump changed his mind on people who rebelled against him.
Yeah,
my three favorite Democrats, the Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, and Elon Musk, are now on that fucking team. Hell, his own VP called him Hitler, right? So that was the first part. The second part, Trump, this America First guy really has this bad way of showing his whole fucking ass of he's subsidizing this country, you're subsidizing that country. When I just told you guys last week, we have enough oil in California that rivals Saudi Arabia, that we can be self-sustaining. So how about let's get a little bit more American first, instead of talking all that shit about financing this country and subsidizing that country. I understand that he's saying that in the way that we should be grateful, but he's really highlighting ways that he's not America first, and he's got some work to do on that. My third part, and Nico, hold that thought.
Hold on.
I see your wheels turning.
But it's just that I cut that video because you know what? Finish, and I'll go back to the Trump video.
Right.
It plays a lot of part. I should have let it go. I don't know why I stopped.
Now the surcharge, our government's not paying. I'm a New Yorker. I get Con Edison bills. I paid my own utility, right? Yep. I'm born in Brooklyn, lived on the Upper West Side, right? And on the bill, you have these little additional charges, state tax, city tax, and there's something called surcharge. And when I saw surcharge, I thought it was some fucking British guy, right? Why am I paying surcharge? How am I going to pay for this bloody zinc? Man, fuck you. I ain't paying surcharge on my phone bill. And I realized where it came from. So and I appreciate any president, and I'm not a Republican, but I appreciate someone that's protecting the interests of the American people, because he knows New Yorkers, which is becoming a less marketable city every fucking year, right? Right? Vegas, like California, is becoming a less marketable city, right? Like Dana White doesn't want to do UFC shows in cities that are not marketable anymore, and New York, there's no middle class anymore. You got people commuting from New Jersey, from Connecticut, from Pennsylvania, from upstate New York, just to drive into the city 2 hours a day just to make enough money to be broke. So the people that actually live in New York are the wealthiest, not rich. We can have a conversation about the difference between rich and wealthy later, and the extreme broke. They're in the same fucking restaurant chilling. So I wanted to land on that.
So it's Minnesota, Michigan, and New York are the three ones. I want to show the video of Trump because I should have let it go. But I just wanted to show this. Stephen is saying term limits, no more infinite re-election potential. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
That applies to Canada and the US. We need to stop. And not only that, but I can't remember who I spoke with about this, but if you are a politician that runs on a certain platform, you should have consequences if you don't accomplish what you ran on. So we should have, before that person becomes premier, prime minister, president, congressman, whatever the fuck the role is, we should have a black on white paper that says exactly what they ran on, why they got elected. And then by the end of the term, there should be if you accomplish everything, you get access to a commission, like a sales rep, like, you're going to make more money. Or if you don't, we take back your salary.
That's supposed to be what the media's job is supposed to do.
I don't know. There should be an actual consequence.
Oh, you mean an official?
Oh, yeah. Where we agree before they take office, this is what we voted for. Awesome. You sign your name at the bottom of this. 4 years from now, we revisit this. And if you did not meet those criteria, you don't get that commission or you go to fucking jail.
What is that guy saying about term limits?
It's just term limits, no more infinite re-election potential.
Agreed. And you know why that works? Because if you have term limits, it gives you more permission to go buck wild and do the right thing because you're not.
Yeah, that's right.
When you get
look at what Trump is doing right now.
And longer terms
he's
allow you
snapping his fucking fingers right now.
He's got longer terms just allow you to build up those relationships with the lobbyists and know how to work the system,
Like, just read what Stephen is saying. That's basically what it is.
Even maybe Canadian politicians might try to fix stuff and play in as safe as possible constantly. Yeah, exactly. And it fixes the issue of like how Nancy Pelosi went in to politics on a $200,000 a year job and comes out with a $250 million net worth. Right.
You need to stop making fun of the best investors ever. She is the best investor. We all know that she's the side. She's the assistant.
She's
to
the
Warren
oracle
Buffett.
of the original oracle.
Watching people cuck for people like that.
Oh,
me.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, do you understand the discipline it takes to have conversations, to have someone once they claim they want to have that conversation? Do you appreciate how challenging it is for someone whose animal impulse is to defend State Street, whose animal impulse is to defend Big Pharma, whose animal impulse is to defend the military-industrial complex? And I mean going hard in the paint for these guys because of their opposition. There's one last thing I wanted to mention that will entertain the fuck out of you about that conversation about Donald Trump. That Donald Trump speech for the people who have a TDS, that's Trump derangement syndrome, is the biggest reason why America should fully insurance companies should fully insure Trump derangement syndrome, because that speech is making people making what you guys call the woke liberals, making them have a fucking heart attack right now. Now, TDS works both ways. The people who are cucking for Trump are just like, oh my God, my hero, his hair is so shiny in the back. They're not even listening to the words. They don't give a fuck, right? That's a type of person too. But the whole time while I was thinking about trying to make me go to rehab, I was thinking the American insurance system would really do something if we can treat these fucking people for this. These people, Nico knows what type of person I'm talking about. Social media,
I deal with them every day,
times a day, looking for gotcha moments. Right? They're gonna do this shit for 4 years straight. How much energy and how, as far as your health is concerned, it has to be covered by medical insurance. 100%. These people are gonna, in a year, at the rate they're going with Trump and because I didn't vote for Trump. You guys know I don't really like that guy that much. But the rate that these people are going, someone's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Let me. So
Escalate
here
and someone's
is
gonna get fucking hurt.
we're gonna play the last part of this video. I think there was a minute left, and I don't know why I stopped it, but I'm actually happy that I did, because this is the part that the left-leaning media is gonna show you where I stopped it. I'll play the other part where I actually was starting to agree with him. I'm like, you know what? If I was an American, I'd be okay with that type of messaging. So let me just load that again.
Canada, and I respect very much more energy than anybody else.
So that's where he's going to brag about the best trees and the best energy in the world.
Ever.
We'll let
Just tremendous.
no, but obviously, and even in the future, there'll never be anything better.
Yes.
So we
It
spend
stops right at the border.
$200 billion a year subsidizing Canada. We don't have to do that. And frankly, the way that gets solved is Canada should honestly become our 51st.
So that's where we were.
We wouldn't have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a tariff problem. They don't have much. They spend very little, as you know, the least of almost anybody on military. And we spend the most of anybody on military. We have a great military. I rebuilt the military during my first time. We're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again. Not that much, but we're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again. But Canada would be great as our cherished 51st state. You wouldn't have to worry about borders. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. And by the way, Canada is very highly taxed, and we're very low tax. We're considered a low tax nation because of me, because I cut the taxes so low.
Fuck out of here.
The people of Canada would pay much less tax.
But just to be
It
clear,
makes a
with that-
lot of sense. And by the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, "Rah." Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that.
So let's not be affected by TDS and all the self-promoting and, I'm so cool and sure with the line. But what he said is, can you imagine a country that had both Canada and the US? And he's like, they have no military. We have the greatest military. And it's all because of him, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine mixing their tremendous trees with ours? Can you imagine having
Ours will
one
become
single-
tremendous as soon as that deal happened. As soon as they get rid of that border,
Yeah.
we will then have tremendous trees.
What I'm saying is that I can see to Americans when they're listening, but when people are listening to him that voted for this guy, they're like, you know what? Maybe Canada becoming our 51 states not that bad of an idea. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying it's a bad or a good idea. As I said before, if you gave me a chance to become an American, I probably would take it. Like, okay, by probably I mean I would take it in a fucking heartbeat. I would rather stay here than go back. But the last part of the video, like, media don't want to show you that, because if you remove the part where he's self-proclaiming himself as the best president ever, actually he's not wrong. Like, there's a few things he said in there, you're like, damn, if it was said better, it could be palatable. It's the way he presents it that's like, oh, fuck off. Can you stop with this shit? But that's why people voted for him, because they didn't want a politician. So
if you ask his supporters, they will all tell you that he couldn't have said it any better, right? Like, so if you're that demographic of person, he phrased it perfectly. You couldn't say it any better. And then you have some,
and our trees are marvelous
that are like, whoa, my God, oh my God, if Canada says no, we're gonna invade Canada, right? And then you got everybody else in the middle that's just saying, can't we just be allies, right? Can't you just come to the barbecue and not sleep in a fucking bedroom in my house? Why can't we be friends, as the song says, right? I mean, give me a fucking break. It's an entire country. Let's just be they're called allies because you want them at the house, but you don't want them to live there. Stop, Trump.
Use your analogy from yesterday, Rob. It was one of the best analogy ever about
which one?
It's the only good one you've ever made. So I don't know how
Oh, please. I'm an analogy machine.
No, but it was the one about
on this show.
Having somebody over and just wanting to, like, being able to kick them out at the same time, right? It's not because
shit. You were talking about when I was talking about my kid.
Yes,
we were talking about the Mahmoud Khalil.
Yes.
And I was saying, if I've got my son, my 6-year-old son, puts his dirty feet up on the coffee table, I might tell him to get off, but I'm not going to kick him out of the house. at the same time, if I have a guest over at my house and he does the same thing, I might rescind his welcome in my home. And that was the take, right? Because Khalil has a green card holder. He was not a citizen. There are privileges that a citizen gets. In that analogy, my son is a citizen of this home. A guy I invite is not. And that was sort of the take, right? It was just like, Khalil as a green card holder, yeah, he has free speech, but there's also some constraints. There are probably some constraints he may want to place on his behavior as a guest in the country of America that a citizen may not need to be concerned about.
Let's table that until his proceedings start. You know why? Because what the media is telling you about this guy and what he's going to say on the stand under oath, if he's allowed to testify somewhere, are probably going to be not polar opposites, are probably not going to be what you think. And by the way, green card means American citizen, and even in the flimsiest of terms, okay?
It doesn't.
No, because green cards don't expire. These visas expire. So if you want to invoke some executive act from 1952 and think the Supreme Court's not going to laugh your ass out of fucking court 8-1 or 9-0, we're living in this.
The Patriot Act
living in this Republican fucking space ranger land where this guy is selling you something that doesn't exist.
But at the same time, it is not the same as being a citizen because you can be deported. A citizen cannot be deported
under an executive act that has not been enacted since 1952. And if the Supreme Court interprets that law, it's going to get shot down. And then Trump is going to be asking America to replace SCOTUS's. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Do you think what's going to happen 3 months from now?
Nah. But hold on, that was not
American. Naturalized citizenship means green card. That's what green card, even in the flimsiest of definitions, that's what it means.
It's not. Let's table this because this is not where I was going with this at all. I just wanted to. It's not because you're neighbors or you're allowed to come see me that I necessarily want to live with you. That's where I thought Rob was going to the analogy of not
on the table thing, right?
Yeah. We don't reopen a multiple hour conversation. 8 minutes left. But I think we can all agree on Mahmoud Khalil that I want this to go to the Supreme Court. I want to see what happens. I'm very curious because this is going to set a precedence.
No matter where we can agree that you can't say he's had due process denied because the very fact that he's going to get these hearings, that is the literal definition of due process.
I'm going to spoil it for you. And my only question is it going to be 8-1 or 9-0?
Okay.
It's going to be 9-0.
Though it'll be something to talk about when it comes for sure.
But as per the definition, and Scott Jennings on CNN was right because I went to look it up afterwards, there is grounds for him to be deported. It's to know, are they going to do it or not? Because two things, right? One, the organization that he represents has really bad language on their website when they describe what they want to do to the West, which he said that he belongs to that organization. The organization that he is part of has very bad verbiage online saying that they want to eradicate the West. This is grounds for
Hamas's thing. He never said that.
No, but he's part of the organization. It's not
Hamas.
And now we want to believe CNN. CNN's full of shit, except for when it comes to this.
I don't think there's.
But they're all full of shit. We can agree to that right now.
Except when it comes to this.
No,
I don't think it doesn't come from CNN though. I think it's from him. He admits
it came from Jennings.
No. Scott Jennings
got that from him.
What source? What source do you have?
That's fair. We'll revisit.
You guys are going off of a given that is not.
Jason, stop. All I'm saying, there is grounds to see this. There's grounds for this to be. It's not going to be as clear cut as you think because remember, Trump was almost impeached by the Democrats because of what he did not say for the air quote insurrection on January 6, 2021. Hold on. But this is the ground. They wanted to remove him as a president because they weren't happy with the way he handled it. If we continue with this mindset, that means that the main face of the Columbia University Free Palestine protest, which was Mahmoud Khalil, is responsible for the crimes that were committed as part of that protest. So to say that there's no ground and it's going to be very clear cut is wrong. Because if I can think about that, believe me, those lawyers are going to think about that too. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. No matter where it falls, I don't fucking know. But I'm curious to see, because this man could change the way people are behaving in the US. And personally, from what I've seen in the research that I've done, I hope he gets kicked out, because people are going to start behaving in a way that is not, you know, it's one thing, as we said multiple times on this show, there's one thing about having free speech. Doesn't mean you have no consequences to your actions, right? And I'm tired of seeing, because this is happening in Canada all over the place, and those Free Palestine protests are the core of the places where it happens. We've had so many monuments destroyed. So many places have been completely destroyed because people are not happy with those old prime minister or old president. They're trying to apply today's standards for what happened 200 years ago.
Can't do that.
This is not okay. That is a crime. So all I'm saying is I want to have a consistent message from both the left and the right to say, if you do this, there's consequences. Because, man, I'm tired of seeing people that are on student visas or have green cards, are not American or Canadian, being able to destroy fucking property, and they just walk away like nothing happened. So I think
we're treating him like the poster boy for other people's bad behavior, which is why I said in the beginning of this diatribe,
he's the leader of the movement doing it.
No, but you guys are sourcing something. You guys
are you denying that he's the leader of Free Palestinian movements at Columbia University?
Palestinian, yes. But don't you know that
that's the movement that's
between Free Palestinian and eradication of the West? You do know there's a difference.
No. But the Free Palestinians are the ones causing the damage at Columbia University.
I said that those were
them. No, I said kick them.
He's a leader of that.
No, but Jason, hold on. I said there was two things that they're going to look at. One is what that website said. Remove that for now. Play devil's advocate. Let's say that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's bullshit. He was the face of the movement for Free Palestine at Columbia University. That means that he could be held responsible for the actions of the protesters that were done, the crimes that were committed under the Free Palestine protest at Columbia University. This is what I'm saying.
I mean, that's how leadership works.
And I'm saying you're going off of a given circumstance that's not so given. You're saying he's the leader of this. You're saying he's co-signing on this website. You're not only saying he's co-signing it, you're saying he's spearheading it. This guy has been at other universities 100% peaceful. At Dartmouth
let's skip the website,
Michigan,
though.
UCLA. You know what I'm saying?
Do you deny that he's the leader of the Free Palestine protests on Columbia?
The leader of it? No.
I'm not. He's the face. No. He's the face of. He is the face. Though.
He is the target of Zionism, my friends. He is the target of Zionism.
Yeah, but a lot of people who say that then go on and do things that really have nothing to do with.
We all agree. Didn't I just tell you we all agree that criticism of Israel is not criticism of Judaism?
For sure.
Do you understand where they're staring this argument?
No, but
you're steering the government. You're steering the conversation. This is the point I'm trying to make. For years. Hold on.
Accept it as a given.
For years, I've seen Democrats trying to get rid of Trump because of what January 6th, what the voice that he supposedly had in January 6th. Those same people are not calling out this guy right now. Because if you're allowed to hold Trump responsible for what he did not say on January 6th, because as per the left, he wasn't strong enough in saying you cannot do that. Although you cannot find one single video where he's saying you guys go destroy the Capitol. He never said that.
The opposite.
He just but let's say that I'm full of shit. I'll play devil's advocate. The Democrats have been trying to say, because I remember him saying, "Don't do this. You don't need to do this." But
he said, "Go peacefully."
Exactly. But let's say, but the Democrats have been saying for years that he's responsible for the insurrection. That means that we need to hold accountable Mahmoud Khalil as the face. I'm not saying he's the leader, but he was definitely the main face that you saw throughout the Free Palestine at Columbia University. I'm not talking about Free Palestine as a whole. Right. I'm just talking Free Palestine protest at Columbia University. He was the face. he was the guy you saw all the time talking. No, but all
Right.
I'm saying is I'm tired of the bias. All I want is for the court to finally put that to rest, to say, are you responsible for the movement that you are the face of? This is what I want to
can go
see,
with
because
that.
I think
can
we
go
all
with-
agree the court case is
I can go with
important.
Nico. I can go with that.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm trying to, that's what I've been trying to say from the get-go, is just, I want the court to say, I want the Supreme Court to say, okay, American or not, citizen or not, green card or not, if
Yeah.
you are the face, the leader, the main person that's always talking about this specific group protest,
Right.
you are, your words might have caused people to destroy property, to commit crimes, just like they accused Trump. Let's be
Right.
fair and accuse that from the same place. This is my point.
I appreciate the consistency, but here's my
That's
question. to you.
all I want. That's all I want. I just
I mean,
want
Rob,
people
this
to
is a
become-
question for you too, because you got to jump in on this too. How many, for years, January 6th, which by the way, he was impeached after his presidency because it didn't really mean shit. How are you going to be impeached when it happened
point.
after January 20th, right?
Yep.
The impeachment proceedings happened after the 20th, right? So, and not before the 20th when he was already out. Peace, bye, fuck y'all. My question to you guys, how many establishment Democrats, not progressives, not Democratic socialists, not Green Party people, right? How many Democrats actually knew that Trump said go peacefully and go patriotically? How many of them knew that? They, honest question, how many, just percentage, just throw a number out there. We're just big guys talking shit.
How
We
many
don't have
do I
the
think
numbers
they
in front
knew?
of us.
Probably all of them. I think they all
Right. So-
knew it.
And that's my point. They went off of this impeachment proceeding and Trump calling Trump a traitor to his country off of a given that was not a given.
I get what you're saying, but
see
to
my
me,
argument here?
it is a
And
given that
Nico's
this
right
guy.
when he says he wants consistency on
That's
this
all I'm
chicken or
asking
the
for
chick-
sure.
chicken or the egg argument.
But that's not really the same here, because it is a given that he was a leader or at least a voice of that protest. Like, that's just a fact. I
Based
don't
on
think
what?
that all the interviews he gave at Columbia University talking about the protests. I mean, he was there.
Yes.
He's like, you
But
can't
you're
now.
talking-
If you want to
Name me
me,
one
the debate
interview where he
hinges.
says he wants to eradicate the West.
To
Oh,
me,
wait.
the
Tell
debate.
me,
To me,
tell me one interview where he said
okay,
he
but
actually said.
to me,
No,
the
no, but
debate
hold on.
hinges. All right, can I talk?
Mhm.
So to me, the debate hinges on if you believe a leader is responsible for the things done in his movement, even if he did not himself do them. Now, and that's a valid debate, and I think this is a perfect test case for the Supreme Court, because I think
100%.
we need to know that answer. And I'm not even saying I'm right. I believe that a leader of a movement is responsible. That's how leadership works. You get to take the credit, even if you didn't necessarily do anything when things go right, but you also have to take the blame, even if you didn't do it when things go wrong. And the fact is, the people underneath you, this is how cultures work in societies, and many cultures and subsets of societies and cultures, is that we take our cues from our leaders. If when they start destroying shit, the leaders say, no, don't do that shit, then they're not going to do it. That's how leadership works.
And
So-
isn't it amazing that no one actually considered this guy the leader of this movement until now? Isn't it? I mean,
Well, that's what the court case will
right?
find out.
Like,
That's what the court
yeah,
case
you
will
know,
find
like,
out.
you know, like you guys did a great thing about George Floyd yesterday, right? Like George Floyd is not exactly someone as a black man that I want a statue of, right? But for Black Lives Matter and what was happening to black men, they felt like their hand was forced, and that became their guy. And I thought historically, and this whole panel agrees with me, where that was a mistake. And that's saying it nice. That's like Nico. Nico's like, dude, before we get on another hill, we can just agree on that part and move on. But I really appreciate your broader point. Like this is an interesting case because first you have to establish who's the force behind it. Two, what he actually said, and three, what his movement says that may or may not be attached to him.
Okay. I mean, I think
let me
guys.
Let me add one thing. The thing that I'm more curious, as you said, Rob, I agree with you. Jason, I agree with you. I want to see where this falls out, where this falls on, whatever the decision is. But I'm hoping that there's consequences for his actions. Whatever they are, I don't know. Because I'm tired of seeing foreigners in countries that they're not citizens of being so fucking comfortable in going against that fucking nation. I'm really tired of shit. I'm tired of going in the city that I grew up in, Montreal, and seeing a bunch of fucking students on visas from different countries having the ball fucking walk down the street and call for the river to the sea. And this is not something I seen on video. I was fucking there multiple times and I saw this shit. And you look at those people, they're all 20-year-olds. Montreal is a university town, right? All I'm hoping with this is I'm tired of seeing foreigners thinking that they have the right to do that in that country. It's like me as a visitor in the US. I start fucking destroying shit as part of protests. I hope ICE would fucking catch me, fucking throw me in jail, and then extradite me back to Canada. There needs to be consequences, and I'm tired of not being.
And for a country that gave a standing ovation to a Nazi, I don't think Canada should be part of the United States either.
But I just want to see, at the end of the day, I want consistency, and I want to see
top-notch deflection. Excellent, very nice. Well done. Well done.
Nico,
that's all I want.
No, Nico, your brilliant point was consistency January
that's all I want.
January 6th is not an apples and oranges argument. That was and the foundation of what's said and what you be held accountable for has legs. And I really like that. I really like that argument. I really enjoyed that.
Because that's all I want.
Can I just finish off with one point, and then we can either move on?
No, sorry, Rob. No. Yeah, of course, go for it.
What I was saying though is, I think, and I think this is a good sort of thing that this show tries to do well. Is it's very easy to just say I'm right, you're wrong, blah blah blah. But I feel like if you sort of get down into the weeds, you can pinpoint where the choke point is in the argument. I don't think really in this issue, it seems like the choke point is questions like, what responsibility does a leader have? And then, of course, specifically, in what way was Khalil a leader of this movement? Now, those two things, I think, are perfectly suited for a Supreme Court case. And I think all of us can agree that it's going to be very important. I think just broader picture, forget the details of this one thing or this one protest. I think what kind of to Nico's point, I think what people are just really sick of is this idea that like nobody likes to have someone come in their house and rearrange their furniture. You know what I mean? Nobody likes to have an outsider come in and decide on their own, this is how we're going to do things in this house. And I think just from a human nature standpoint, that's going to create a lot of resentment. And even if Khalil is being unfairly treated right now, I think it is a direct result of that kind of behavior, or at least people's perception of that behavior. So I think
America desperately needs to make someone an example, and I can't wait for that example to happen. But I think
you don't think Khalil's the right example.
My research, he might, maybe,
and that's a fair debate.
Nico and I leave room. Nico and I both leave room. That might be our example. This might be our guy. It might not. You know, and that's what we're exploring right now.
But let's all agree that he put himself there because he knew or he was hoping.
As a green card holder, yeah, it might not.
That's my point. Like, if I'm in the U.S. right now, I'm not going to be attending protests like I'm a citizen and I have the rights to do so. I'm not going to be the face. Yeah. I'm not going to be part of those protests. Let's remove the face of the leader, whatever. I would not. We can all agree he was part of those protests.
How long do you have to live in America?
Well, let me ask you this, Nico.
An American.
Would you have gone to January 6th? Because you agree with that, but would you have gone to it? Okay, that's a good. That's a great.
But I would, and I was here in the U.S. But I was here in the U.S. I was invited to go. But my point is that if I went to
Japan, guest in the country, and you feel like
if I go to Japan, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fucking respect their values. I'm gonna try to, like, if I go to Japan, I cannot go to one of the biggest thing I would love to do, but their bath. They have hundreds years old bath that you can go. I can't go because I have too much tattoos. They would think I'm a yakuza, so I couldn't. But that's okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you would.
No, but that was my choice. Would I move there and try to change the way that they do? No, of course not.
And yet people try to do that to us. And
I want to go to see the pyramids. You know what I'm going to do if I ever get to? I'm going to have to cover this because this could be in a lot of trouble. Would I blame Egypt for this, or is it my
responsibility to adapt to the values of the?
I'm just tired of seeing people coming to other people's countries, and Americans do that to You meet Americans down south in South America and Canadians, and they think that they're in their fucking countries, and then they get smacked down by police like, hey, bitch.
We can't do that shit
can't
here.
let people get away with that. Zelensky tried to do that shit in the White House, and we should. You can't alpha dog America. But the reason why I like Nico's argument is because January 6th, there were people serving real hard time for less than what this man is being accused of. You have people that weren't even there January 6th. Right? Like the leader of the Proud Boys was serving jail time because of
Enrico.
Because of what he said or didn't say that might have been complicit in that shit. I hate to use the Proud Boys as a whatever, because I have enough research on them. I don't know about them. I don't really care. But how the fuck you gonna arrest people and make people serve jail time who didn't even show up? And then never mind the people that didn't go in the building. There were people who weren't there. So Nico's talking about fairness and consistency, and I have to
there's
admit,
a need for this kind of a case.
Everyone goes into an argument with a bias, but I can't allow my bias to prevent the fact that what this guy's being accused of is significantly more than what people already served jail time for.
So I mean, we agree a court case needs to happen. I think we all agree an example needs to be made of this kind of behavior. I think we just disagree. You might not think that this is the right example to be made.
No, because I've seen interviews about his activism and the prevention of a genocide. And look, the elephant in the room that might be for another episode is Israel.
That's a valid debate.
Everything. We never even had enemies in the Middle East until Israel became our fucking friend. And that's a whole nother episode, dude.
At the same time, should he have been doing this knowing that he was on a green card
with an 8-month pregnant wife?
How long has he been in the United States?
I assume he went to Colombia for at least 4 years.
At least a few years.
How long do you have to be an American? How long do you have to be in America for us to say that guy's an American citizen?
Until you're a citizen, until you took the test, until you went through.
I mean, citizenship is a thing,
which he did, because you don't get the green card without that.
No, he's not a citizen. A green. I get a green card as a Canadian.
Right. A green card just means you're allowed to stay. We won't kick you out unless you do something to piss us off.
You're allowed to work. You're allowed to stay here as long as you want, but you're not a citizen. He did not take the citizenship test. He's not an American, but he has a green card, so he can stay here indefinitely, unless something happens that he doesn't deserve a green card, and that's what they're going to see.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter who were talking about their experience as a green card holder and then citizenship, and they said we were made very clear. There were this was a privilege that could be rescinded, and we needed to be people were saying, my mother told us, whatever the fuck you do, don't go out and get involved. Don't even get a speeding ticket, because this is not
don't give them a reason.
Yeah, this is not secure. And
on that note, can we? Because I wanted to show one more video. I like to finish with a funny end, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but I've almost pissed my pants when I saw this, because this is fucking brilliant.
Oh,
I fucking love what's
ready, dude. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's
what
go,
this guy
Nico.
did.
I'm ready.
Watch this video. This is gonna bring joy to everybody's life. At least if it doesn't, you're not gonna like this show. But watch this. Tell me this is not brilliant. It's just loading right now, but this is, man.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America, please?
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order.
The whole freaking
Mr. Chairman, have you no
system's out of order.
decency? I mean, I've come
He's
to
going
know
Joe
you a little
McCarthy
bit.
on
This
him.
is not decent.
We will continue.
Have you no decency, sir? At
Mr.
long
Chairman,
last.
have you no decency?
Oh, Nico, you're muted, I think.
The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
It's over. No.
That's it. Oh man.
Nico, double check your volume, but that was, dude.
How
No, you're
how
good.
do you
You're
deal with woke? How do you deal with the woke? You don't even let them look stupid, and then you know what? Click, we're fucking done. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn,
Tell me that wasn't awesome.
Who's gonna pay for my Uber driver, you motherfuckers, for this trip?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah,
gonna
could
pay
you
for my
imagine?
$10 Starbucks cup that I drank just to come in the room?
So just so you guys know, the guy that adjourned everything is Representative Keith Self out of Texas.
Okay.
He is the chair to the House Foreign Affairs Europe Subcommittee. Sarah McBride is a dude that's wearing a dress.
Yes,
so he
Prairie.
as-
Prairie.
he's a trans.
He's a tranny.
He's a trans.
Prairie
So
says, why is he saying
Oh,
Mister? Is he a tranny?
It's brilliant. And that little bitch, Bill Keaton, the guy that got more offended than the other dude, is Bill Keaton from Massachusetts, and that might surprise you, but he's a Democrat.
So I'm actually gonna give a little bit of props here to Sarah McBride. Yes, it's a transgender person, originally Tim McBride. At least
It's a dude.
He does seem to he said at the beginning when this whole thing went off, he's like, you know what, I'm here to represent, I believe it's North Dakota or wherever. I don't give a shit what they call me, whatever, it is what it is. And he didn't seem that upset. So I mean, credit to it where it's due. You know, complete freedom for everyone to do whatever they want. If he wants to live as a woman, it's entirely his right, but he doesn't get to pick and choose how other people perceive him. And so if you're gonna live as a woman, you got to expect that some people are going to call you a man, and that is not crime. It's not a
Before I
violence.
ask my question, what did Prairie say?
Yes, Prairie, it's a tranny. It's a dude. That's why he called him a dude.
Why is he saying Mister?
100%.
Is that a tranny?
It's a dude.
It's the
But I
dude,
love
bro.
it. And Rob, this is funny because you're bang on. So the Keith Self, fucking, I'll never forget that name. Boss move from calling him Mister to repeating it Mister. And when that little Democrat is throwing a fit, not even the dude that's being the dude that's trying to be a woman that's being called a dude. He's like, fuck it, we're out.
Yeah, we're done. I'm done.
Rob, here's a question. All right. Now, you're on the left side of my screen. Who's that guy on the right side of my screen? What's his name?
That's me. Me?
Madam Lagan.
There's you, there's me, and
Yeah.
who else?
Hmm.
Who's that guy?
Nico? Where are we going with this?
Have you no decency?
Oh,
That
have
is
you
the
no
men who saves all men. Nico
yes.
Lagan.
Yes.
Can you not address him by his title? He is the man that saves all men. Have you no decency? Let's end
Sir,
this
at
podcast.
long
Podcast
last.
adjourned.
At long last, have you no decency?
But it was when I saw that this morning, this is brilliantly handled. This is how you handle the woke left. If you don't want to deal with kids, you know what? Don't. He was the lead chair, so he's just like, I'm not gonna. Okay, pal.
Yeah,
you go.
we get the fuck out. I get paid the same.
But-
Wow, dude.
But it's funny how Tim McBride did not even.
No, I mean, credit where it's due. I mean, like, no one.
I'll give him that. I'll give him
Yeah.
that. But he's been bastardized everywhere in the media for. I think he's getting used. He's getting
he
the
is.
fact that he is the face of what's wrong with politicians. At least one of the problems with politicians. But it's hilarious.
But to the extent that he's just said, fuck it, I don't give a shit what you call me. I'll use a men's bathroom. I mean, that's all he can do. I mean, I'll give credit with that. But, you know, you have the right to transition, but you do not have the right to change how anyone else perceives you or calls you. You can't demand that we lie to ourselves about fundamental biological reality. And it is what it is.
There is.
Why do you
nothing
hate
more
women so
valuable.
much, Rob?
Dude,
Why do
there's
you hate women so much?
Rob,
Yes, I
there's
know.
nothing more valuable to the United States of America than a transgender person with thick skin. That person can take anything you say to them. You know what happens when they respond? If you're one of those dish it but not take it people, we are going to know right away because that person
yeah.
dude.
Now, the
You know what I'm
transgender with
saying?
thick skin, I mean, that you could probably count on one hand the number there are, but I agree with
In
you.
New
that-
York,
that-
you can count them on your.
oh
you
yeah,
lose-
is there,
you lose fingers and toes, man. Take a trip to
yeah.
Chelsea, because I used to sing karaoke, and when you sing karaoke, the best
it's a crowd.
karaoke singers
Yep,
in New
yep.
York are fucking gay people and transgender people. They're just, it is, and and the reason why I fit in well with them, and the reason why I have like these little feminine features that Nico likes to tease, is because hanging out with these thick skin, they
Trannies.
can take it, motherfuckers, is what is the American way. It really
Yeah,
is.
I agree with that.
They can
know?
probably take it. Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, or give it.
Yeah.
Too. They can give it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look between them legs. He was giving it too, bro.
Yeah, I agree. Well, guys, on that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jason, for being here. If you like that show, if you like your show, make sure to like, make sure to comment, but share it. Next time we're live, share the stream. This is gonna
Yes.
re 7 tonight. Reshare it. Even if you watched it, you don't even need to watch it. Just
Just
share it
reshare.
so that other people can see it. Because we need more shows like this where the left and the right can talk. And you saw today,
Together. And I
we
think that
didn't
last
have a
20
meeting.
minutes was an excellent example of what this show's all about.
Agreed. So make sure to follow at the Poli Orphans on X and on YouTube. Make sure to follow Rob the Builder. It's under his name right now on X. Make sure to follow Jason, his handle,
Debelius?
or at NYC at NY Varsity Sports on YouTube, because supposedly he has the biggest volleyball based podcast.
Just
on the planet,
just kicking
supposedly.
sand and all the other beach volleyball podcasts.
My through plays at 19%, guys.
He's
Through,
getting
on a
all
long
yeah.
form podcast, my through plays at 19%. So that's
That's
pretty
pretty
good.
cool. That's pretty cool.
So again, there's no proof about that, but we're gonna take his word. Encourage him. Make sure to go NY Varsity.
Sounds like fake
Sports
news to me, to be
on
honest.
YouTube. Yeah.
Where
yeah.
is it?
See,
I have proof.
Oh, he's got it right there. He's got it right there.
And guys, if you want to follow me, my handle's right here, Real Nico Lagan. I'm absolutely everywhere. But thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us, and hopefully we see you tomorrow.
One final thing on the people watching reruns, guys. If you sort of see we engage with our audience live, this should be, do not have an excuse there to, you should be watching in at work.
I give you permission.
Noon Eastern time. Just put it in at work. Your boss won't give a shit. You can engage with us, and that's you can be part of the community here.
Don't get doged.
Yeah, don't get unless you work for the federal government. Peace.